Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland chat. That's what we're going to call this because there is no plan, there's no rules, there's no schedule. Frankly, there's no clue. We're just here. So, yes, I will be your host for this evening. All plans are there to be broken, and that is indeed what happened this week. Everything we had planned didn't work. So instead, you've got to put up with us lot talking about the Arsenal. So, Danny, you've got to be here. Well, technically, you don't have to be here because I can do what you're doing tonight, but you're here anyway. So, hello.
Yes. Hello. We're not sponsored by Uber, if anybody's questioning that. Uber can get fucked.
I hear Jeff's a big fan.
That's why I said it, because our Jeff might listen to this.
I know.
Yes.
He will. He's a good egg. It's our Jeff. Yes. Also joined by the bearded one, Mr. Welsh. Evening, John.
Evening, Chris. You all right?
I'm good, mate. Yeah. Should you not be editing podcasts for me? Who let you off?
I think I've done all of them. Apparently, I did the last one wrong. Josh is moaning about it, saying it's too quiet, and so you have to get Gaz back. Like, you can't have any more of these holidays.
No. Well, I didn't know about this feedback. I shall sort this. I think we need to fire you. Okay, and we've got Jace. Evening, Jace.
Hello.
Hello. Tough day, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Long day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna let rip with full baseball bat in hand tonight, aren't you?
Thinking about it.
Okay.
He's not in a good mood, is he? This hasn't started out as I thought.
Hold on to your hats.
Jace, you just want to give it one loud hello. That'll cheer you up.
No.
People, leave now. Save yourselves.
He's not a performing monkey, Danny. Come on, give him some credit.
I'm not that intelligent. Or well paid.
Hey. We've also got our good friend Mr. Holick. Evening, Dave.
Good evening. I feel like a proud father with his 3 sons.
Hold on, which one of us is it?
What an unfortunate batch of DNA, if that's the case. Look at the state of us.
Hold on.
Danny's my wife.
Oh, hello, darling.
Is that Carmen Miranda?
I got a horrible image of Danny in a tutu right now, because it's going through my mind. God.
You went lived until you seen me in a Desmond.
I've seen you in the bath. That was enough, to be fair.
Rob Beckett loved it.
He did not.
I tweeted it to him before we went to see him, and he didn't even mention it or put it up on screen.
Do you think it's a coincidence he's not been back since? I don't know. He's still washing the taste out of his eyes as we speak.
You
take over my introduction. I don't mind, Danny. Get back in the kitchen.
Sorry, darling.
It's all right. Jace has already stolen my thunder anyway, because I thought I was going to be Mr. Miserable this week. Now I've had to change in an instant and throw this smile on.
I could
Hello,
never
everybody.
see your thunder, pal. Could never. Never. Just couldn't do it.
You're a good man.
Oh, I don't
Well,
know.
we're
Chris?
we've got...
Chris?
Yes. Thank you very much. I don't know what that's for, but I liked it. Thank you. So we'll take it. Right. So what we got? We've got 28 people with us at the moment. 27. That will go down shortly. So thank you all for joining us. If there's 27 of you watching, there's only 6 thumbs up. So sort it out, people. Come on. Right. So Danny, we're just going to have a bit of an unplanned pod, aren't we? Really, just a bit of a.
It's almost live and unplanned, like the title says.
Indeed, yeah. Just a bit of chat about Arsenal and what's going on, what's not going on, and all those things. So, where should we begin? Should we? Do you want to talk about the weekend? Do you want to talk about the season as a whole? Do you want to talk about the gaffer? What do you want to talk about?
Maybe our expectations of what we would have hoped where we would have been by now, and where we are actually now.
Well, seeing as you piped up, why don't you kick us off then? Where do you think we are right now? There you go. Put your foot in it.
I think we're up fucking up shit avenue without a paddle. No, do you need a paddle in the shit avenue? I don't know. It's just the same old thing year after year, isn't it? Where the players come and go. Like I've said this so many times, people are bored of hearing me say it. But players come and go, staff come and go, and of late it's been more go than come, and which is probably a good thing. No one probably cares about the youth setup apart from me. So it's just the same old thing, isn't it? And it comes down to if you change the players and the staff and the youth and the coaches and the stadium and even the owners and nothing changes. Well, for me, that only says one thing. At the moment, we're 13 points behind Chelsea. We have a game in hand, but that's against Liverpool. Well, no, it's not against Liverpool. It should have been against Southampton. And Southampton are our bogey team, so they're probably muller us. So then we're just going to hopefully what my hopes for the season now. I mean, the beginning of the season, I was very upbeat with the like we started the season off magnificently, 7 clean sheets in 8 games, banging in goals. The one against Liverpool, well, that was understandable beginning of the season. It was more like a pre-season friendly. 7 crazy goals, 2 centre backs. Were they both making their debut? Who was it? Was it Mustafi and Holding at the back for that first game?
It was Chambers
and
and
Holding.
Ah, there you go. I knew it was 2.
Yeah, Mustafi didn't play till the second game.
He was late.
I knew it was a centre back pairing that had never been, well, probably never played. And Holding made his debut, and Chambers was. I thought Chambers had a half decent game, but anyway, so that was understandable. And then as the season's gone on, we've had the usual injuries, apart from the players of ours like Jack, who is always dead cert for an injury. He's gone off and not really had an injury. He's had a couple of knocks and had to come off early. And the season has just gone on, and the same old shit. Knocked out in the same part of the Champions League, knocked out of the League Cup again by Southampton. Although we did knock them out of the FA Cup, we did play their under-12s. And so my only hope now is to finish outside of the top 4, because then next season, if Wenger's probably going to stay, he isn't going anywhere. Next season, we'll be out of the top 4, won't be in the Champions League, hopefully won't be in the UEFA Cup, and we can do what Chelsea have done, Liverpool have done, and Man United have done in the past, have a hell of a good run at the title, because we're not playing in Europe. But knowing our luck, we'll probably be 19 points behind Spurs on the last game of the season, and we'll overtake them somehow, and they'll end up finishing 5th and not being in it. I think we can win the FA Cup. Dodgy tie against Lincoln. Man City aren't that good. We're going to visit Chelsea, Man United in the other tie. That's going to take out one of the 2 teams that can possibly beat us. Hopefully Man United will win that, because nobody wants to play Chelsea at the moment. And I'll see, with the same point as we are every season for the last decade. It's just drives me crazy. So much so that when my mate come round to do a bit of gardening the other day, Ben, he's a Tottenham fan, he just stood there and he went, "You all right?" I said, "No, I must say, I haven't seen Ben for about 8 years." And he said, "You all right?" I said, "No, I'm an Arsenal fan." He went, "Yep." And then he just stood there and said, "Harry Kane," smiled, and then went off into the back garden. That's the whole conversation. That just, I mean, if Spurs fans, and it also said, "I hope Wenger stays." Says it all, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it says it all. But their manager, the magical Mauricio Pochettino, still has won. Hang on a minute. That's it. Fuck all.
He's off to Barcelona, hopefully.
Is he really? Okay.
Hopefully.
They wouldn't take him. He's not that level, I don't think.
Well, Barry Glendenning and co seem to think it might be a possibility.
He doesn't play their style of football. There's no fucking chance of that.
Jason, don't shatter my dreams of them. They're only half decent manager in a long time leaving. Just go along with it, will you?
There's no. Well, he's from fuck all. No offense. I think he's a good manager, but no.
Well, there you go, people. Pochettino to Barcelona is now not happening.
We've made it so. We'll touch on managery stuff in a second, actually. But Chase, just before we move on, Danny's kicked us off on a sour, miserable, piss-flappy note. Give us something positive this season so far. Is there anything that you look at and think there's something positive there?
Danny's a twat.
I agree. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh yeah, what's muted? Stop it.
No, come on. Look, every time we hear this business of don't want to be in the Champions League, don't want this, don't want that, I don't get it. I just don't fucking get it. Okay, I understand people think, 1 game a week and FA Cup and League Cup, whatever, that's great, but you want to be challenging the highest level. Okay, we've screwed the pooch again, and that really, really annoys me. I cannot get over or understand our inability to raise our game for these big matches against Bayern and against Barca in the past and what have you, and Monaco when they came up. It absolutely drives me to despair that we are unable to raise our game. It's just wrong. But you've got to be in there to win it. And fuck me, of course I want Champions League nights. Of course. Anybody, players want it, fans want it. I don't think it's going to do us that much good, to be honest here. So, what's the point? But no, there's no positives. I'm fucked off.
That's fair play. I'm with you on the whole wishing out of things and stuff. I can't get on board with that at all. I must confess. I think that's really not going to help anybody. I know.
Yeah, I see the point, but all of a sudden you lose the revenue from it. Okay, everybody says, "Oh, we've got enough cash, we've got plenty of money, this, that, and the other." If the revenue's not coming in, it soon fucking runs out. It soon runs out. This is the thing. Everybody thinks, "Oh, we'll always be a rich club." Well, no. Look at Leeds. You go back sort of 40, 50 years ago, Blackpool were a massive club, Huddersfield, all those sort of clubs, they were winning titles or whatever it was, whether 60 years ago, whatever, I don't know. But, things change, and things can change very quickly. There's no chance, unless you keep on it and you keep competing in these big competitions with the big paydays, that money will soon go. The club's got overheads. These players are paid a lot of money. You've got to be in it, And the Premier League and the Champions League is where all the money's at. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, John. What do you think of the season so far? I mean, I know you're sort of skeptical on a lot of things, and we agree on a lot and we disagree on a lot. You're pretty level-headed, but you got some straightforward views, haven't you, on the season so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really surprised by it. It still annoys me, and I still get wound up by the bad results and the bad performances. But coming into the season, I think this season was the first time I didn't expect top four. It wasn't I thought guarantee we'll get it. I was like, we'll be competing for top six because, Chelsea were going to be better and United would be better. Liverpool look like they've dropped off a bit now, and hopefully that carries on. So we'll talk about the weekend's game, but I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to get top four, and it's trying to get those 6 teams into four isn't going to be easy. I didn't expect us to challenge for the title, to be honest, and I haven't done for a couple of years. So it's I still enjoy watching most of the time, but there's certain games that when Arsenal playing, I'm just like, is it really going to make a difference if I watch it? Am I actually going to enjoy it? We haven't been, fun to watch either. Is the other thing. Like normally, even if we're not winning the trophy or something, at least we're entertaining. And I don't think we've been particularly entertaining this season. I think a lot of that is down to the manager. It's not just him. The players obviously do have to take blame for their performances, but I do think the manager is at fault for a lot of things. So it's just the sort of, it's like it's like I expect every season whilst he's there to be a 5 out of 10. I don't expect us to win the league or the Champions League. So I know that, some people might not like that, but that's just my honest opinion. I don't think he's got it in him anymore to win the league. And I haven't done for a few years.
People can like it or not like it. It's your opinion, and you've got to that.
But some people agree, some people don't. That's fine. But
yeah, that is life. David, do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, I know you're probably similar in terms of personality to me, in that you tend to try and avoid the fights and the hassle of things. But your opinion, you're a realist as well. You're positive, but you're a realist. I mean, where are you falling at the moment?
Familiar with everything that everyone's saying, and I kind of feel a duty to act as the devil's advocate rather than say the same things over again, because obviously I'm as frustrated as anybody. But if I put my rose tinteds on for a second, there are 13 league games left to play. Do I think we've got a squad capable of winning 13 matches in a row? Yes, I think we have a squad that's capable of doing that. Ask me if I think, will they do it? And I'm obviously going to say no, I don't see it happening. But if it does, then 89 points is going to take you very close to overhauling Chelsea. Probably would do it. So there's that prospect, but that may well end on Saturday. The FA Cup looks as though it's going to be tough, because the semi-final you would think would be us, Spurs, City and Chelsea or Manchester United. Doesn't mean that we can't win it. We've tended to do rather better against the bigger clubs in the Cup, even in recent years, taking out Liverpool and Tottenham on the run to Wembley. So there's possibilities there that things could look a lot brighter at the end of the season. Do I think they will? Not so sure.
Yeah, as you rightly say, a very level-headed approach, and again, some facts.
Sorry, question there, Dave. I mean, okay, if we win the FA Cup, it's it's a great trophy to win, fantastic, and what have you. But as I was saying before we started this, my biggest gripe at the moment is our inability to raise our game for the big games like the Barcelonas, the Bayern Munichs, and the Monacos in the last few seasons. I mean, doesn't it get to the point where I love Arsene Wenger, make no mistake about it, okay? And as much as I'm frustrated at the moment, his level of consistency is phenomenal. And, you can't take that for granted. And all this, I'd never badmouth him. I would never, ever call him names or anything like that. Whether he stays or goes, by the by, to be honest, we have opinions. But the inability of him to get these teams to raise their game for the big games, surely that's an issue that, has to be addressed. Or, why aren't people talking about it? It's that thing of Liverpool have done it when Liverpool are bang average teams. You see all sorts of teams raise their game. PSG against Barcelona. Yeah, they played them off the park. When they had the ball. I know they didn't have as much of the ball as Barcelona, but they played them off the park. Why can't we raise our game?
That's the thing for me.
People.
Oh, sorry, David, go on.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just going to say, I think I have exactly those things said, and I think it's now a question mark that's hanging over Arsene, and I don't want to really take this too far, but most people agree that this is the best squad we've had probably in 10 years. And the fact that they're not producing week in, week out, let's face it, they're not really producing stuff against the less than great sides. When you lose to Watford, when you've had those disappointing late wins against Burnley, for example, it's a mystery why he's not getting the best out of them. And I'm uncomfortable with the reasons for that. And I'll stop there.
That's the thing that's most damning for me, is that I think most people do agree it is the best squad. And I think not everyone's going to agree, but I think most people would say that squad is capable of winning the title. And the fact that it's not even competing is the worrying thing. It's not like, years ago when you had Bentner, Denilson and whatever, that's not an excuse, but you can see actually he did very well with those teams to get top four. But when you look at it now and the players we've got, they shouldn't be rolling over. Like, there's no shame in losing to Bayern Munich. They're a very, very good team. But being absolutely ripped to pieces the way we were, and let's not forget about, that could have been 7-8 easy. Oh. And that's not the only game this season. Going 3-0 down against Bournemouth and then having to come back, and it's just performances like that over and over again with that squad. But it just makes you think. Yeah, obviously the players aren't performing, but at the end of the day, you can't sack the entire squad. No, but if the manager's not getting the best out of them, then that's surely got to be the key issue.
Okay, but the flip side is we've got the best squad we've had in ages, fine. But I kind of look at it and I kind of think we have, but why are we relying on a 31-year-old who's had injury problems and who can only play really in the centre of the park in a certain way, and then that doesn't suit the rest of our midfielders? Coughlin, I'm sorry, I know you love him, Kris, but he's fucking awful.
We'll get to that, don't worry.
He's awful. I'm sorry, if that's the best squad we've had in ages, what is he doing in it? You know what I mean? El Nene, I like El Nene. He's a good squad player. We got Ramsey, who's injury prone. We got Jack, who's had problems, and yet we've got the best squad we've had in ages. Do you know what? I think we played better. I think we played more attractive football when we had Denilson in the squad and the Bentners and the likes at times, because we haven't played good football for a couple of seasons now. We really haven't.
So, with all that being said, then, so where we are right at this particular point in time, Danny, you made a point about we'll touch on the squad and a few bits and bobs on that in a minute, but sticking with sort of management level at the moment, Danny, you made a point pre-pod that you wanted to sort of discuss where we would be under Conte in particular, because you said about obviously Conte what he's done at Chelsea, and it's very we should stress it's very easy to say where could anyone be. I mean, you know, where could the Pirates be if they sacked that awful bloke in charge of them? But what's your kind of feeling on it? What do you we would be further on as a squad under a different manager at the moment?
Well, I think we were playing 3 at the back for certain. I don't watch a lot of Spanish football, but I noticed the other night that Barcelona are now playing 3 at the back. It's
Does anyone?
Huh?
Does anyone watch a lot of Spanish? Sorry, carry on.
Actually, I was watching. As soon as I turned the Real Madrid game off, they got a jammy pen and then ended 3-3. The fuckers. Yeah. So my point about that was. Don't look at the telly. It's made me forget what my point was. I'm watching the darts. What did you just ask me? How did I forget in 2 seconds?
Jesus.
Oh yeah. What would they be doing? I think we might.
That's why I have to work with people.
I think we would. He wouldn't put up with some of the performances we're getting. I mean, you look at Cesc Fabregas, who is still a fantastic player, only 30, just reached his 300th Premier League game. I know, I'd love to have had him back. Just think what he'd be doing in our midfield now, starting every game. And he can drop him, and he's dropped Costa. And he'd
be on fucking strike or at a bloody Formula One race. Fuck off.
He's dropped Costa. He's dropped John Terry. He's not afraid to drop people. And I think he would be getting the most out of people like Ozil now. Like I put in our chat box, I heard a Guardian pod today saying that Ozil has got 4 assists from his last 45 or 55 passes. Now, you would think that Ozil a couple of seasons ago would have had a much better ratio than that. His assists have dropped off. He's had 2 weeks off when everyone else was doing stuff, and then he's had another 2 weeks off virtually because of the gap between the Sutton game and the Liverpool game. Now he's not well again, apparently, and he's away again. He's fit enough to go bowling, and it probably will be a better thing for us if he doesn't play against Liverpool, because then we'll be able to play 3 central midfielders. And we won't have to, although Ozil is brilliant and he attracts a lot of people, he won't just have one man on him. He'll have 2-3 people blocking him the whole time, which is why sometimes it's really hard for him to play. But when they do that, that frees up the other players, because you can't have 2 or 3 defenders on all of our best players. But it does worry me that the performances that Ozil has come out for the second part of the season. Sanchez is overly greedy, which is very annoying. I don't think Conte would put up with that. Being Italian, he would sort out, well, theoretically, he would sort our defence out. They'd be getting some defensive coaching for the first time at the club since 1998, because we all know that Wenger does very little or no defensive coaching. Just all those little things that we have got such a magnificent
the first time
force.
since 1998. When were we invincible?
Yeah.
2004.
I didn't literally mean from 1998. I mean just in Wenger's reign. He doesn't like to do defensive, does he?
Hold up, yeah. I keep on hearing Arsene Wenger inherited only one, the only good defence he's ever had, but he inherited none of the players he had for that the invincible season. I don't mind giving him stick. I don't, okay, but let's have a little bit of. A little bit of fairness here. You don't go season unbeaten with a dog shit defence.
I didn't say they're dog shit. I said they don't do defensive training. One of the players left Arsenal. I can't remember who it was. It might have been.
So how did we go season unbeaten?
That's not the point I'm making, that he doesn't do defensive training, because those players are world-class quality defenders. One of our players left Arsenal, and then whatever club he went to, it might have been said he did more defensive training in that one season after he left than he did in his entire career at Arsenal. What player was it who said something along those lines? Because somebody definitely said it. And it's a known thing. He doesn't do it. We know someone who's been to watch them train, and he said they do very little defensive training. That's why our defence is so bad. So they don't work together properly as a unit. You saw Petr Cech when he was at Chelsea. He's gone from being one of the best goalkeepers in the world, letting in hardly anything, to the first time in his life going, 8 games in a row without a clean sheet that he'd never done before. All these little things about defensive, we don't do it. And my point is...
But isn't there... Just very quickly, just to wade in on that, the world's greatest manager ever known to man, Pep Guardiola, can't even buy a defence with all the money in that. Don't roll your eyes, Welsh. You know it's true. Well, it is. It is true. He had all the money in the world, and I'm sick to death of these people saying, "Oh, well, John Stones was already signed." Absolute horseshit. If he wanted to have signed Samuel and Titi or Gerard Piqué, he could have got them, and he chose not to because he doesn't do defensive coaching. This is the same man who came out in public and said, "I don't know what tackling is." What a load of old shite! I'm not saying we don't do it, but I'm just saying you can't.
That's all wonderful, but I couldn't give a monkey's what Pep Guardiola's doing at Man City. He's not the Arsenal manager. I couldn't give a shit.
But it's a comparison.
No, it's not. It's not. We're not talking about Pep Guardiola and what he's doing at Man City. We're talking about Arsenal. I don't care what Pep's doing or not doing. That's fine. If he becomes the Arsenal manager, then it's something to talk about. It's got nothing to do with Arsenal. Danny was talking about Conte specifically.
And a player that left us. That was the point I was making. If a player's left us and said, well, Wenger did this, but well, then fine. Then you left, then crack on.
You know who that player was? I mean, David, you're the voice of reason with this, and we all have to bow to your knowledge and your experience. Am I wrong?
You don't.
Huh?
No, you don't. And I was probably the person that told you at the training ground on the one full session that I've seen. They didn't do any work on it. The last time I do recall that there was someone in there, Martin Keown was there 2006, and he turned that bunch of no-hopers into a team that wouldn't concede a goal in the Champions League. So that was the last time I can remember them getting them specifically coached in that manner.
So have I got a point of the fact that Wenger doesn't do defensive training like we would like, and if Conte come in, Conte would, one of the first things he'd do was sort out our defence, being Italian, and we all the Italians love a bit of defending.
It's not just that; it's having a system.
Think that's wrong.
Yeah, we have a system as such, but we all know that Arsene likes to let the players go out and work things out for themselves on the pitch, and that was all fine when we had Vieira and Henry and Dennis and Sol, Ashley Cole, even Fabregas to a certain extent, for how young he was, could at least did some sort of organising in midfield, and you could see him trying to direct things. And we haven't got those sort of players anymore. But Arsene hasn't changed his approach to the way he lets players get on with it. And what is it? Filippo Claire says, like jazz players sort of improvise on the pitch. I don't think there's that type of footballer around anymore in general. There's not a lot of them anyway. They're very, very few and far between. And I think that's why you see most teams now, they have a very clear system, very clear directions for the manager. If anything changes in the game, there's notes past the players and things like that. And I know some people will go, well, okay, we just need better players who are more intelligent. The very best teams in the world do that. Juventus do that. They have a very, very clear system that they play that is down to the letter from Allegri. Chelsea have exactly the same thing under Conte. The players know exactly what they're doing. You think they've gone from someone like Mourinho, who everyone thought, yeah, okay, his football wasn't particularly exciting. It was quite dull and whatever, but he was very strict with his systems and defensively and everything else. And you have someone like Eden Hazard saying how much more he's learned tactically about the game under Conte. It's just the way football's gone, and Arsene hasn't adapted. And that's one of the big problems.
So, with that said, who wants to discuss this formation thing? Because I'm not buying it personally. It's just my personal opinion. I think that this myth, just my view, that three at the back is revolutionary, is fantastic, is this new wave. It's fashion. It's another fashionable defence. It works for Chelsea brilliantly. Chris, why would it work for us?
I disagree with regards to fashion. Okay, I mean it works for certain setups. Okay, whether you want to play 4 at the back, 5 at the back, or 3 at the back, I don't care. But as John alluded to there, you have to have a system you play to. We currently seem to be playing a system which was meant for Santi Cazorla and Francis Coquelin. Okay, and Jacques and Rambo, because of injury and suspensions, etc., they were starting to look a decent little pairing, and obviously that was broken up by suspensions and injuries. But why are we still trying to play a system which suits one particular very talented footballer whose injuries and issues mean he's probably not going to play another 15, 20 games for us ever again. You know, he'll have about 10, 15 maximum. But, you know, and he's 31. You know, surely we should be concentrating on a system and players which are interchangeable, which the whole squad can buy into. You know, whether it's 3 at the back or whether it's 5 at the back, you know, I don't buy the argument our players wouldn't suit 3 at the back because, you know, they're professional footballers. If they can't play 3 at the fucking back, they shouldn't be at the club. If they can't play 5 at the back, they shouldn't be at the club. But, you know, time and time again, we've been outnumbered in midfield. You know, the Man City game was an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment. Against Chelsea, you've got our specialist DM, okay? You know, I don't know. You can say he's trying to, you know, whip the ball away from Eden Hazard, but that's Eden Hazard. He's not an average footballer. He's a very good footballer. You need to kick his fucking ankles away from him, and you know, absolutely being, you know, I've never seen a worse midfield. Well, no, I have seen worse midfielders at the Arsenal. Sorry, but you know, if anybody thinks they're winning a title with Francis Coquelin, forget it. And if you think you're winning a title with Francis Coquelin and Santi Cazorla, forget it. One's not going to last the season. One's not a good footballer. So why haven't we got personnel and a system which suits those personnel? You know, this goes back to the Czech transfer window where we re-signed Arteta, we re-signed Rosicky, who are done. Thomas Rosicky didn't play half the time he was at the club. What's the fucking point? Mikel Arteta was done 2 seasons before. That's the time, you know, we're still suffering from that transfer window. And you can talk about El Nene coming in January. It makes no odds. The damage is done by then. But you need midfielders who can interchange and play a system. You know, the whole team should be able to do that. And that's what we're not doing. I don't care what system you use. I couldn't give a monkeys. But we are playing a system which suits Francis Coquelin and Santi Cazorla. And fucking newsflash, Santi Cazorla is basically done at the club. Extension or no extension. He is not going to last.
So with that point being made, David, I want to get your thoughts on the current squad then. Is that what we're getting at here? Is ultimately the squad we've got still not good enough? And when I say still, I kind of mean that in the fact that we have improved and we have brought in new players and we have tried to adapt. But do we have to face facts? We're shopping in an area that is not the elite level, that we can't actually compete at the highest level for the top players, or do you disagree with that? Do you think that we can, but we're choosing not to?
No, I think we can, and I think what we've done is we've bought into yet another project, into a side that's being developed, because you saw that in not buying Kante, for example, but going for El Neni and going for Xhaka, he's got a couple of players in their mid-20s who I think he's hoping to mould into his new central midfield partnership, and it hasn't quite come together yet. But he's got time. If he's here, he has time to complete that project. I think the players we have, the squad we have, is good enough. I'm not as downbeat on Coquelin as Jace is, and I don't think the current setup is anything to do with those two. I think it's entirely to do with Mesut Ozil and getting the best out of him. And the fact that it's not at the moment probably says, well, hang on, let's look at what worked for us against the Southampton under-12s in the FA Cup. 4-3-3, we looked very, very good. And I would be sorely tempted, even though he says Ozil's probably going to be fit for Saturday, I'd be sorely tempted to have a go up there with a 4-3-3 and leave Mesut on the bench. And so that might give him a kick up the arse, and then we'll see the best of him again.
I'm completely with you on that, I have to say. Who should I pick on squad wise? John, you've been quiet. What do you think squad wise? I mean, similar question to David. Is the argument that we're basically going to spend this summer coming up trying to keep our 2 best players, whether people like it or they don't? That's what we're going to be doing. So is there an argument that again, we've let this run too far, that these players should have been tied down and we should be focusing our efforts on improving the squad, not just retaining what we've got? Or do you look at it and say, well, actually, no, this summer might be different. Maybe we might actually get a few targets sorted out and prove to these two players that might be interested maybe a way that we can compete at the top level again?
The contracts for those two should have been sorted unless they do have the intention of letting them go and selling them and making some money. I'd rather not. I think if you had to lose one, it's sad to say, but I'd let Mesut go, because I think most people agree he restricts the way you play. You either have to play him as a number 10 or, as this kind of wide man who doesn't get involved as much in the play. And he's still a very good player, Mesut Ozil, but I just don't think you can play a out-and-out number 10 anymore. You have to, if you want to be a number 10 in sort of the modern game, particularly in the Premier League, you have to look at players more of a like David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne at Man City, good examples of players who can do all the fancy stuff going forwards and get you goals and assists, but work really, really hard tracking back the other way and putting tackles and got all that energy. I'm not saying Mesut doesn't work hard, but he's not that kind of player. It's not what he's about. And if you make him do those kind of things, you don't get the best out of him. So maybe the league is just a little bit too tough for him. So I think in that sense, it'd probably be sensible to sell him and get good money. I think with the money you get for Mesut Ozil, you can certainly improve the central midfield. I do think we need a better centre mid than what we've got. I like Ramsey. I know some people don't like Ramsey. I think he's an easy scapegoat, and I think the other big issue is that he gets injured, and as soon as he's remotely near fit, he gets rushed straight back into the team to try and rescue a game or a performance or something like that, and then picks up another injury again. I'm not as down on Coquelin as Jason. I do think this has been. Did
you watch the Bayern game?
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong.
Did you watch the Man City game?
This season, he has been awful. I don't disagree. I think the fact he's so high up the pitch is ridiculous. If he is just sat in front of the back four, just destroying and then giving it to another player, that's fine. And I think in most games and a lot of European games, that will get you through. That's fine. At the very, very top level, he's not going to be good enough and he's going to be outshone. So I don't mind having him as a squad player. Same with El Neni. I think that's fine. But you need a really dynamic, high energy midfielder in there. Who that is, I don't know. There's loads of people all over Europe you could go for. The whole Alexis Sanchez thing, if we keep him, fantastic. He's a wonderful player. His performances have dipped, but I think that's partly down to the team and the players around him. I just don't think he's having a particularly good time. A lot of people are digging out players like Alex Iwobi. He's had a very, very poor run of games lately, but I think he's been overplayed. I think Arsene has a habit of doing this. Very young players playing too many games too soon. Some players can handle it, others can't. I think it's had a detrimental effect on Jack's career. He's obviously been very unlucky with injuries as well, but I worry for Iwobi that it's going to start to get to him a little bit. I think he should be taken out the spotlight a little. So I think the squad's there. We could have challenged this season with the squad we've got, but if you're not using the players you've got available to the best of their ability, then you're not going to perform. But the fact that we're going into this summer with uncertainty over the manager now. I mean, most people probably think he's just going to stay, and if that happens, that happens. But that doesn't help, because if anything Mesut Ozil said is true, then he doesn't want to sign until Arsene signs. Which means if Arsene really doesn't genuinely sign until the end of the season, you're waiting all that time to try and sort out Mesut Ozil whilst trying to juggle Alexis Sanchez and look for people to bring in. And we know we're not particularly good at it anyway. And we know also that Arsene is very, very fussy, and once he likes a player, that's it. He's made his mind up, and if he doesn't like a player, that's it. Lacazette is a player I know you really like, Kris, who basically is Lyon have come out and said he's got to go, and so is Tolisso. We know Tolisso basically to Juventus is pretty much done. Lacazette is a wonderful footballer who we could go and buy, and we could quite comfortably compete for him and sign him and offer him good wages, and I think he'd be more than happy to come. But Arsene's had a lot of opportunities to sign him. He's not interested. So even if we got offered a good price, I don't think he would, just because once he is into a head he doesn't want a player, that's it, it's gone. And I think that whole kind of attitude to the way we buy players, to the way we negotiate getting new contracts for existing players is just wrong. And every single summer, when we look one or two players away from being the very, very top level, we just don't pull it off. And it's only ourselves to blame. We just keep shooting ourselves in the foot with it over and over again.
Danny,
Can I just pick you up on one point there? On the Mesut Ozil situation, I don't think his direct quote was, "I'll only stay if Arsene Wenger stays." I think he said something more to the point that I want to know if Arsene Wenger is staying.
Yeah.
I want to know who the manager is going to be before I commit. Now, I don't think he's tying his star to Arsene Wenger's tail.
No, I probably have heard the quote wrong, to be honest, David. So yeah, I'm sure that's right. But
and that should be said
Sorry,
that
Kris.
that is, I think anyone would want that. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I was working in a company and my boss says to me I'm leaving, and I'm told I've got a new boss, I'm not walking out of my job immediately, but I'm damn sure weighing up my options and thinking, okay, well, let's see what the new boss is like and what the new ideas are before I make a decision as to whether I still fit this company or not. So I guess from that side of things, it is,
I get why he said it. There's certain managers, if you're Mesut Ozil, you do not want to work under. You probably wouldn't want to work under, say, someone like Simeone, for example.
No, I don't think he'll have to worry about that, to be honest. No. But yeah, I mean, I think it's I think what we can all agree on is that if Arsene has, I don't know about you guys, I'm personally under the opinion that I know this will boil a lot of piss, but I'm under the opinion in my view that he has either agreed verbally or has signed to stay already. I don't even think it's up in the air. And I know he's saying, "Oh, I'll talk to you in March and April." And all this is what he said. I just think that's classic deflection tactics. I just can't imagine a man who loves the club as much as he clearly does would be leaving it this open this late. Do you agree, Kris?
Kris, it's been the same throughout his career, isn't it? It's always been last minute. I remember when people worried about him leaving 10, 15 years ago, he'd leave it to last minute, sign the contract. The club knew what was happening. I remember, Vieira contracts and Henry contracts going quite late down the line. This happens at other clubs as well. It's not just us. I think he's going to stay. I'm not sure if this. I don't think it's. I think it may be time for a change. I think 20 years at one club is an awful long time, and unfortunately, things can get stale. But having said that, he's the only. Out of all the players, you mentioned, the Henrys, the Vieiras, etc. He's the only one who's ever shown us true loyalty. So, he'll get my loyalty every single day of the week. The man will get my loyalty. Whether I think it's right or not is a different kettle of fish. But, I can't see it coming to April, May, and Arsene Wenger just leaving. I just can't see that happening.
Do you not think that's detrimental to the club if he stays, Jace?
Well, I look, flip it around, okay, and put yourself in his shoes, right? Whether it's detrimental to the club or whatever, the club have offered him a new contract by all accounts, okay? Now, you put yourself in his shoes. Are you going to take the easy option out, or are you going to stay and fight? I know what I'd do in his position. I'd stay and fight. I'd stay in, it's a club I love. I've been at the club 20 years. I'm going through a tough time. Hell, I'm going through a tough time. I'm still fourth of the game in hand on a couple of clubs. Do you know what I mean? Yes, the Bayern game's very disappointing. The Chelsea game, very disappointing. The Watford game, very disappointing. Okay? The one thing that frustrates me about him, I love, if I'm him, I stay and fight, and that's what I expect him to do. I do expect him to do that. But the one thing that frustrates me, and you hear an awful lot of different opinions here in this group, and if you looked on the live chat, there's all sorts of different opinions down there. There's no right or wrong way. There's just your way of doing things. But there's certain things he never seems to learn. There's certain lessons he doesn't seem to learn, and that's what frustrates me. That inability to raise performance for the big games, consistent injuries to certain players where, we all know it's going to happen. Dom tells us it's going to happen. We know anyway it's going to happen. As soon as Santi Cazorla got injured this season, I told you he was out for the rest of the season. I told you that. It's his age. It's the problem. It's an Achilles. It's horrible. And at his age, and he's never been the most athletic, it was always going to be the same. But you have to have options, and I do feel we kind of lack a footballing identity at the moment. The days of beautiful football are gone.
I don't think that's got anything to do with it, Jace. I think the criteria for Stan Kroenke is 1, make money. 2, to 1. That's it. That's all he gives a fuck about, money.
And guess what, Dan? Okay, and guess what? I'm no Kroenke fan. Okay,
no,
but he's a business. But get something straight. He's a businessman, and that's what he's there to do. So for all these people, I want Kroenke out. I want this. I want that. Buy the fucking club off him.
I wish I could.
No. But this is the point, okay? Buy the fucking club off him. That's the way it is at the moment. Have your say by all means, okay? But apparently, over the last few number of seasons, we've heard. Ivan Gazidis come out. We've got a £80 million war chest. We've got a £100 million war chest.
That's just before the season tickets go back on sale, is when that bullshit comes out.
But okay, this season we spent some money. But the summer before that, we bought 1 goalkeeper, and that's the problem. And
we spent some money this last summer, but it wasn't on the right players. We didn't even get the striker we were after because we didn't want to pay it. I'm surprised we got Mustafi because we were told they wanted 20-25 million for him. They kept putting a price up.
Dan, sorry, okay. Lucas Perez has been a decent signing.
Yeah, I really like him. He should start more often rather than Iwobi.
I think Xhaka has been a decent signing.
Yeah,
I think Mustafi's been a great signing. Okay.
Yeah. Well, first half of the season,
but the problem is, okay, we missed that. You've got to freshen things up. You've got to continually challenge players. And we missed out that summer. Thinking Arteta and Rosicky would be good enough that season is nuts. I mean, Majib's just put in the in the box. Wenger stay isn't justified. But if he finishes top 4 and wins the FA Cup,
no. If he finishes top 4, doesn't matter about the FA Cup.
But this is the point, okay? You're still there or thereabout. When you look at the money United have spent, okay? You look at the money Man City have spent, right? It's an incredible amount of money those 2 clubs have spent over the last couple of seasons, right? And we're still in there along those guys. But my annoyance is we're not. We've been where we are now for the last 3 or 4 seasons. We've been saying it, month in, month out in this podcast. And we've not taken our final step.
No, we never will. Because if Arsenal was a mathematical equation, it would say Arsenal top 4, Wenger stays. That's it. We might as well just start every podcast. Kroenke still owns the club? Well, nothing's changing. Bye. Because nothing will change.
These people, I do have one question. You said about the signings, right? And you mentioned Lucas Perez there. He's obviously very popular amongst the people who go every week.
Kris, look at the amount of goals he's been involved in. Look at the goals he's scored in. Okay,
I'm not going to criticize him. What I want to ask you is this: the same people that are now shouting from the terraces or whatever, oh, he's got to play Lucas Perez. Blah, blah, blah. How many of those people in the summer are the same people saying, well, we shouldn't be signing? I mean, you used the example, John. Or we shouldn't be signing Lacazette. He's in the crappy French league. He's nobody. So, but these are the same people that are saying we should be playing a player who's 28, who, let's be perfectly honest, the manager didn't fancy, who was a target for West Brom and Everton, and now everybody's saying he's
Kris, that comes from the fact people want him to play now because he's in the squad. So you play with what you've got. We're not saying that's a player we should go and sign because nobody said go and sign Lucas Perez. I doubt anyone had even heard of him. I barely knew who he was. I mean, I don't watch Spanish football, fair enough, but I didn't really know that much about him. But he's in the squad now. There's no transfer window open. He's clearly performing to a very good level whenever he gets on the pitch. So demanding that he plays over someone who is not performing at the moment in Alex Iwobi, who isn't at his best, which is fair enough. He's a young player. He's got a long, long career ahead of him, and I think he's going to be a very, very talented footballer. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with someone saying in the summer, oh, I don't want to sign that player. He plays in whatever league and I've never heard of him or whatever. It's just an opinion. But equally, you can't moan at that same person who now looks at our squad and goes, well, this guy's better. Why is he not getting on the pitch? That's just common sense, surely. And if the manager, in all his wisdom and intelligence that he's got, and I don't think anyone disagrees that he's clearly a smart man, he's also excuse my French, a fucking idiot at times as well, because why is this bloke who's getting assists and scoring goals and causing havoc for defences and he's got a bit of spite in him? It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It does matter who it's against.
Okay, right. So hang on. You say it does matter who it's against.
I think
you're a big Zlatan fan. You love Zlatan. You think he's brilliant. Let's be honest. The French league, barring a few teams, isn't the greatest in the world, and you know that. He was banging goals in for fun. Doesn't matter who he's against. And if it was, say we signed Alexandre Lacazette and he was only coming on for the same sub-appearance as Lucas Perez was, scoring those goals, you wouldn't be saying that. And I'm not saying you've got a thing against Perez, but you're using the argument about people being against signing certain players as a way to defend the manager, which is fair enough, because I know you like not just defending Arsenal, but you want to be positive and more positive about the outlook of the club, and you prefer fans to be just back the club and just get on with it. But you can't just say, oh, because he scored against whoever it was, Nottingham Forest or whatever in the League Cup, and the goal against Sutton and other teams. Scored goals in the Champions League. Everyone's getting all excited about Mesut Ozil scoring a goal against Ludogorets, who really nice, pretty going forwards, can't defend for toffee. That goalkeeper was absolutely awful. His goal was very nice and it was very pretty. You can't make that argument. It's ridiculous.
No, I think the thing I have the issue with, I think this is part of a bigger picture. It's not the player per se. I think it's the issue I have is the amount of people that seem to think that because a player has run around a bit and has scored a couple of goals, suddenly they know more than a guy who watches him in training every single day. And more important than that, this is why maybe I'll get David's thoughts on this. I'm not convinced he ever wanted to sign the guy. I'm not convinced he wants to sign. I don't think he wanted El Nene. I don't think he wanted Gabriel. I think these players were signed for him, and that's part of a bigger picture, surely.
But Kris, I'm sorry, okay? If he didn't want those players, what are they doing then in the first place? Okay, and it's all well and good, okay? In the chat box and us, we can turn around and say, I don't think he wanted him. You don't know and I don't know.
No, agreed.
None of us know, so that's just a hypothetical. But the bottom line is, if you look at our left-hand side, especially this season, Nacho is getting on. He's been attacked with pace. Why are we playing a guy who hasn't got the greatest amount of pace, who hasn't been playing well, as opposed to the fella who has, when he's been given the chance, has delivered and has got bags of pace? Okay?
Who we signed as the centre forward, and we're now playing out wide. The centre forward that everybody wanted in the summer, we signed, and we're playing in wide left.
We signed Bobby Pires, a central midfielder from Marseille, and we put him at the left.
That's a push.
No. Yeah, I remember him playing central midfield for Marseille against us in the Champions League. Okay? But the bottom line is, okay, he's always done that with players. Freddie, Thierry, okay, he's done it a lot. That's not the point. The point is the guy, when he's been played, whether it's been up top or on the flanks, has done well. It will be, he's a great talent. Everybody keeps telling me he's a number 10, right? And you can see that in him. His decision making recently has been poor. He will develop into a very good player, hopefully. But the truth of the matter is, we lack pace. Okay, and we lack pace going forward, and we lack pace defending. So why not give him a chance?
Yeah, it's, as I say, it's a good debate to have. I suppose we should move on to a slightly different topic or a slightly different player, because we'll be.
What does Dave think of that, though?
I was just going to say, what's Dave's thoughts on it? Yeah, good point.
I'd agree that Lucas has been underused this season. And I think he could have seen more action on both flanks, certainly. I think there have been a game or two when we could well have used him at centre forward. But I think time is now conspiring against him. He's clearly not one of Arsenal's favoured players, for example. And now that Danny Welbeck is coming back into the picture, I think Danny Welbeck is likely to get preferred. He'd probably be ahead of Lucas in the pecking order if he was fit. The only worry I've got about that with Danny is they're being so careful with him coming back. I'm wondering if he's got a bigger problem than they have been willing to share with us. But that's only my thoughts. It's nothing inside or anything like that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Danny, I want to pick on you for a bit. So you've been quiet. So we've all sort of sat here and said, oh, there's certain things that there's certain things that we look at the squad and we go, okay, there's bits missing. So irrespective of who you've got in the hot seat at the moment, which is the more pressing issue? The things that are going on behind the scenes, like you mentioned, the coaching, the training, or is it a question of actually maybe doing that thing we did a couple of years ago where we look at the squad and we go, actually, some of these players are just not up to it. And I will pick on some names here because people like to pick on names. Gabriel is not good enough at this level. He's not an Arsenal player for me. Never has been. Kieran Gibbs is not good enough at this level and has had his chances and not taken them. Nacho Monreal, I think, is good enough, but is clearly on the decline as far as, age will catch up with the best of us. As much as it pains me to say, I agree with Jace. I absolutely adore Santi Cazorla, but you can't rely on him full stop for a long period of time. Sorry, Jace, please don't throw bricks at my house. Aaron Ramsey isn't consistently fit enough.
But hold up here. The bottom line of Ramsey. No. I'm just going to point out.
Yeah, come on.
Dave made a point with Danny Welbeck and the way they brought him back. It may be if Arsene Wenger did that with Aaron Ramsey, we'd get him fitter for longer.
Possibly.
Well, I don't think there's any argument. Everything that's happened this season with Ramsey, Dom has told us beforehand that it will happen because of the way he's been put about there. Now, like I said earlier on, there are injury issues. We have to address them. Okay, we have to address them. We can't carry on like this with them. We can't.
No. And in this system, I just I really like him as a player. I just don't think his future will ever be what.
But guess what?
Want it to be.
Who would you name me the two midfielders this system at the moment is working for?
Oh no, I agree with that. I don't think they do.
The bottom line is I think it's testament to the quality of player we have that we've still done so well in a system that clearly doesn't really suit our game.
No, that's definitely a fair point. And again, this is where I'm going with it. Is it time to ship out some of these players that, however good they might be individually, do they not suit our system? Is it time to get rid, to maybe start a little bit of a fresh in the summer with new ideas, new outlooks? Or is it that coaching side? Is it that director of football? Is it that boardroom change? I mean, these are the two areas that people look at the most, excluding the manager. So even if you're in charge next season, what's your primary area that you're looking to change?
You're talking to me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, squad-wise, I think we have got arguably one of the best squads in the last decade, easily. We've got cover on every single position. We've been unlucky. Like Jace is 100% right in what he says about Ramsey. If you bring Ramsey back the way you bring Welbeck back, and then that would be so much fun. What Arsenal need to do, they need to employ Dom. And then Dom will, in no uncertain terms, tell the manager, this is what you need to do with these players, and this is what you don't do. And then if they listen to Dom, and if they listen back to the previous podcast, they would take some notice. He was right about Walcott all those seasons ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, said he's going to come back and he's going to get injured again. He was right about them not warming up properly. He was right about Ramsey. He's been right about so many of the other players. He's right about Koscielny before anyone else had picked it up. At the end of last season, Koscielny kept going off, and Dom said that's what the problem is. He said he just needs a bit of a rest over the summer and he'll be all right. And then I think, well, here I am quoting Dom, fuck knows, I can't remember what bloody day it is. But the problem is partly through injuries and partly through when we signed Mesut Ozil, this is his 4th season with us, is it? And Sanchez is 3rd? Or is this, yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, when we signed Mesut, if you'd have said in the 4 years that he's going to be there, we're going to win 2 FA Cups and we're going to maybe get runners up in the league to a team that we beat home and away. It isn't really fair to blame Ozil for everything. He can't be expected to turn this team round. I mean, this season, 29 games, 9 goals, 8 assists. Now, you look at that on the face of it, that's really good. Sanchez, 34 games, 20 goals, 16 assists. And then you've got the likes of Ox with 6 goals and 7 assists. Iwobi with 4 and 7. Who else is down there? We've got Walcott, 15 goals and 2 assists. Giroud, 11 goals and 5 assists. And then Perez, 7 goals and 5 assists. You look at that and you'd go, well, where are Arsenal in the league? You think, well, fuck me, we've got to be top of the league with something like that, haven't we? They go, no, we're struggling in the league. We're all the way down in 4th. We're only 2 points ahead of Man United in 6th and 1 ahead of Liverpool in 5th. And with the season's falling apart, it started to fall apart as usual when we get to the last 16 of the FA of the Premier. Oh, here we go. Too many cups. The last 16 of the Champions League, we got absolutely smashed. Exactly the same result as 15 months ago. We haven't learned our lessons. We've got the squad. We've got the players. We've got the stadium. We've got the finances. We've got the fans. We've got absolutely everything, and it's not working. Now, Wenger, I'm sure David might know this because he's an oracle of all things Wenger quotes. I'm sure that when Wenger says his job is to win a trophy every season, and another manager famously said, I can't remember who it was, if you don't win every 5 years, you need to change the squad or you need to change the manager. Now, you take into consideration all those things and who said what, it's got to be the manager. He's got to go. But then I know that if another manager does come in, first goal we concede, right, that's it, whoever it is, get them out. That's why I'm so apathetic when it comes to modern football. We live in an instant gratification society that we want it and we want it now. Don't take into consideration all the other factors. Now, I haven't been too harsh on Wenger in previous seasons because we haven't had the players. Sanchez, one of the best in the world. Ozil on his day should be one of the best in the world. Koscielny and Cech and Bellerin. Giroud has been magnificent this season. I mean, he is now dropped from being our number one striker to you just come on and play the odd game every now and then striker, and he's not moaning about it. Monreal still only 33. Now, for a fullback, you start to slow down. No, he's 31, played 33 games. He starts to slow down a little bit, but we got him and we got Gibbs on the left-hand side. We've got Debuchy and we got Bellerin on the right. We've got, I'm not going to name all the players, but you look in every single position we have got more than one quality backup player in every single position. Now, I know we've been rocked by some of the injuries that we've got, but when you look at stupid mistakes like Coquelin, Wenger, why the fuck are you playing Coquelin going forward? Don't do that. You say to him, those two defenders, centre-backs, guard them, guard the ball from them, and when they give you the ball, you pass it away. You don't act like Pele. And like I think Jay said earlier, he's no better than Danielson when Danielson was playing for us. I think he's got a point there because Wenger is asking him to do the wrong thing. John, as we always refer to John when it comes to Xhaka, Xhaka wasn't playing in this kind of role when he was playing in Germany or when he plays for Switzerland. That's not Xhaka's job. If you're going to play Xhaka and Coquelin in midfield, you say to Coq, you don't go past the halfway line. That's not your job. Stop shooting. You get the ball, you give it to Xhaka. Xhaka will pass it around, or Xhaka will have a run forward and have a shot. That's what we should be doing. He's not doing it. Now, how comes everybody can see that? Well, and I think that's what it should be. But Wenger isn't doing it. So many problems with Wenger and the way that he does things. He ruins players' careers. Arshavin. If Arshavin would have had 3 seasons, if he'd have stayed off the potatoes, the potato-based alcoholic delights, if he'd have stayed off of that and Wenger would have played him in the 10 for 3 seasons, we'd be looking back at him now and going, oh my God. In those first few games where he scored 4 goals against Liverpool, and then you see the last few games that he played out wide. Wenger keeps doing this, getting players and playing them out of position. And it is going to kill Coquelin because that's not the kind of player he is. And it just makes Coquelin look bad. It disrupts the team and it makes Wenger look bad. And then the whole thing turns to shit. I'm just, like I said earlier, I'm just so apathetic about everything at the moment. I mean, I only watch Arsenal games now. And when that's on, in the old couple of seasons ago, I'll be sat in front of the telly like that, watching every single move like that. Now I'll be on the computer. I'll be cooking dinner going, oh, we've conceded another goal. Oh, how bad it is. We had a bloke deliver the Tesco shopping last night, and I said, you're French, aren't you? And he said, yeah. And I said, do you like football? He said, no. And automatically, I don't trust someone, a grown man, when he doesn't like football. He said, oh, what team do you support? I said, Arsenal. And he just laughed and went, they're almost like a French team. And people who don't even know anything about football will laugh at me when I say I'm an Arsenal fan because of the fan base, because of Wenger, because of the owner. Some of the fan base, sorry, only a small section of them are fucking morons. You know, I am bleating on again, but there's just so many just a few adjustments. That's what you need to do. Someone needs to say to Wenger, which he doesn't have at the club, don't play Coquelin there. That's not his best position. Why has Ramsey been out for 6 months and then you're playing him week in, week out? You're playing him right wing, you're playing him left wing, you're playing him in the 10. It's not going to do any good for Wenger's confidence. I mean, for Ramsey's confidence, and you're wearing him out. How can people like Dom know? I mean, because Dom's a genius, but how can people like Dom know what is right and wrong to do with the players, but the backroom staff at Arsenal don't? Is it because they won't say to him? I don't know.
Maybe there's a level of respect. It's just the way. I suppose it's the way some clubs are. They don't like to challenge things, and that's not his way. But you touched on the fan base there, Danny. I want to get John and David's opinion on the upcoming. There's this talk of this protest. Now I know, obviously, lots of people will point fingers at the usual characters. I'm led to believe it's not them that is organising this. It's people with, some people that have been to games on a regular basis, some people from all walks of different backgrounds, whatever. David, are you on? I don't want to say you on the bandwagon that thinks it will achieve anything, but do you think this sort of thing is healthy in a football club?
You'll not be surprised to hear that it's not something that I would include or involve myself in. However, I would not to say they don't have the right to do it, but I wish they would think longer and harder about the possible negative effects. I can't understand people who are talking about not going to the game because this is at the end of last season. People are celebrating the fact that we've nicked second place at the end of the season to qualify to play teams like Bayern Munich, so you can go and watch them. So it's in regard, direct answer to your question, the protest, count me out, but I'll defend their right to go ahead with it. I just wish they'd think a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well said. And John, I know you've always said to me on a number of occasions, you're fine with people; they can do what they want, and you're absolutely right. So, my kind of thought on it is, do you foresee this causing a further division in the fan base than what we've already got? Because people have made this opinion on this show and many shows that social media is a big thing, but it does not equate to the entire Arsenal supporting populace, if you will. There are a lot of people who are not on social media that go to games. So is there a danger of this dividing the fan base even further if it goes the wrong way, or even if it doesn't have any effect whatsoever? Does it then just make the club and and some of the fans of the club just look a little bit sort of third rate?
Right. So just to clear up the whole this protest, what they're doing is just not attending the game. Is that the whole protest, or are they actually doing a thing outside the stadium? Or
no, there's a march, and I've heard
Okay.
different people say that they don't want to go there. They'll leave their seat empty as a protest. So they're two completely separate things. There's a march from the East Stand is the demonstration.
Right. And is that during the game they're doing that, or?
No, it's before the. I think 6:30 they're meeting at the East Stand.
Right,
Don't want to do that. Don't want to give them the publicity, but it's before the game.
No, that's fair. No, I just wanted to, before I comment on it, know what the sort of plan for it is. Like you say, I've got no problem with it. If a fan wants to protest, that's their right. They're a fan. They can have their opinion on it. They're entitled to it as much as me. I'm not sure how much effect it really is going to have. If it's something in the stadium whilst the game's going on, then it can be the sort of thing that's more detrimental to the team and a performance, possibly. I think the problem with all these sort of protests is that for the majority of the time, it's not going to cause a huge impact unless you do it whilst it's in front of the camera. It has to be something that's live, and even then, it's not going to hugely upset things. The issue with it is, and dividing fans. I don't think it should. I think you can disagree on things and just have a civil conversation. Some people don't seem to be able to do that. I've got loads and loads of Arsenal fan mates, and not one of them uses Twitter. Not one of them's even got a Twitter account. Most of them, their exact words to me, when I always say to them, said, "Oh, you should go on there. There's loads of cool people you can chat to, and different podcasts and blogs and stuff like that." And all of them say exactly the same thing. They say, "I don't want to listen to a load of self-ego inflated wankers who are up their own arse and think they know everything about football," which is funny because they're obviously saying that to me as well as one of their friends. So I don't think Arsenal Twitter is a huge representation of the fan base. And it's one of those things where if loads and loads of people turn up, it will get some coverage, and fair enough. And if it does something, and it does something positive for the club, good. If hardly anyone turns up for it, then there will be fans on either side. There'll be the ones complaining about the people who didn't turn up, and there'll be the ones who are very pro the club and not doing any protests at all, who I think are as equally as much of an arsehole as the ones who will pick and moan and that kind of thing, who will be taking the piss out of the protesters that didn't turn up, saying, see, look, there's only 10 of you. It's not the way, all fans think. You're a bunch of idiots. You shouldn't be doing this. So I think they're equally as those kind of people. I hate that, does my head in. But go ahead. The only way you're ever going to affect the owner and get him to pay any attention at the club, if you want real change, is sadly to do it at games, and it's to affect his money, and that's it. At the moment you start denting any sort of money he's getting out of the club is the only way you're going to do that. And the only way you can really do that is not buy tickets, which is just not going to happen because there's always going to be people who'll buy tickets. It's to try and embarrass the club in some way that directly embarrasses the people who are sponsoring the club, so they're less likely to invest money and sponsor them, because that's the only big commercial contracts. And that you have to get so many people involved in that to have any real effect. I don't think there's enough agreement between at least the people I speak to as Arsenal fans to get anything like that going. So I don't think it's going to have a great success. But I'm sure, whatever way the process goes, there will be one side moaning at the other, and I couldn't give a monkey's either way. You can just argue each other into the fucking void on Twitter.
Yeah, here. Jace, just sort of other thought I want to touch on before maybe we can take some questions in a minute. But do you think we take this all a bit too seriously? I mean, when all's said and done. I mean, we're all fans. We all love football. I like to watch games around the world. You're a fan of, you like your rugby as well as your football. I can't imagine you sticking the egg chasing on the box and being this upset about how
I have tried.
I'll take that back then.
I'll be funny. Okay, we're born with the Arsenal. Try being a Welsh rugby fan. You have no fucking idea. You have no fucking idea.
Fair enough. But the point stands, doesn't it? Are we all just a bit? We're all a bit highly strung.
Dave, I'm going to cut your feet off with a hacksaw. No, I actually, funny enough, as John was speaking there, I was thinking about it, and everybody, you look at all the fans and them arguing, and we argue over players we like, and we argue over what's the right system to play, the manager, everything. Everybody thinks they're right. Everybody thinks they are right. Everybody always thinks they're the good guy. It's a fact of life. They pay their money. They can protest, in my opinion. Okay, I don't feel the same way as them, but as long as there's none of those vile, stupid songs that were that stupid fucking protest a couple of months ago, I think it's fine. When we start wishing ill on people, it gets out of hand, and it's just stupid and moronic then. The truth of the matter is, we're never, the only people who will ever affect the sponsors is people within the club and their behaviour. The fans, we're not an unified mob as it was back in the day, so to speak, and even then it wasn't that unified. You'd stand on the North Bank or wherever, and you'd hear all sorts of different opinions. That's life. That's football. Do we take it too seriously? Yeah, I think we do at times. I think the whole thing for me about being an Arsenal fan, I just want to watch the Arsenal. I just want to watch the Arsenal. I'm having a moan tonight because I'm having a bad day and I'm pissed off with life and I'm pissed off with the recent performances. So I'm having a moan. I could be, if we beat Liverpool in the weekend and put in a great performance, I could change like the wind there. All of a sudden, you get that, you get that second wind, and you're happier. It's this thing of I genuinely, and people are laughing in the chat box. Okay, I genuinely think we can beat bloody Bayern Munich 4-0. I genuinely do. I'll always think that. I'm always positive about when it comes to game day. It doesn't matter what sport it is. You've got to go in believing you can do it. As fans, I think we take ourselves a bit too seriously. Part of the reason I love being on this podcast is we'll argue, we'll debate, we'll have a hissy fit, but we're all still friends at the end of the day, and we all have a laugh with each other, you know.
And we do it all through the week. We've got 2 or 3 WhatsApp groups, and it's this all day, every day, and it's just brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are mates inside this and away from it, and we're no different in the WhatsApp groups than what we are in here. It's brilliant.
Absolutely, and that's
my hair's better in the WhatsApp group.
And Sean said the other day, you're her favourite.
Sean, you're my favourite too, sweetheart.
Jason says you're his favourite.
But this is the thing, okay? We're just mates having a laugh, and we love the Arsenal, and we all want what's best. We all disagree. There are 5 guys. There's 5 of us on this podcast. There's loads of people in the chat, and we all have different points of views on certain things. It's just a case of, do you know what? I just want to watch the Arsenal. I just want to enjoy it. I just want to see us do great things. Yes, I'll get frustrated. And, no doubt that a guy's going to go on that march. Somebody will say something stupid which they don't mean. Some people will say something stupid they do mean. Do we take ourselves too seriously? Yes, no doubt we do. But it's a passionate sport, and that's why we love it. That's why, that's why these TV stations pay billions of pounds for the Premier League. It's for things like this, It's for things people can turn around and they can say, this league isn't as good as that league or whatever. It doesn't matter where you are. People feel this way in France. People feel this way in Spain. People feel this way in Morocco, in Egypt, in Australia. They love the game. They love their club, and they just want them to do well. And that's the side of it where, I'm not a fan of protests, but they have every right to do it. They have every right to do it, and I wouldn't knock them, and I wouldn't think them. It's the people within the club who will affect how it's run. For me, I'm just a fan. I just want to turn it, rock up and support, or, I don't go up as much as I want to, but you know what I mean? I just want to watch the Arsenal. I just want to see beautiful football. I just want to see great goals. I want to see Arsene Wenger do well. Do I think he will again? I'm not too sure. But, it's Arsenal Football Club, and whether he stays or goes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We've come through darker times, haven't we? We can say that.
This is the thing. Somebody said the other day, they saw some kid being interviewed who's 10 years of age. I think Gav was on about this. He's 10 years of age. I've never seen us win a title. Oh, fucking whoopee-doo. Whoopee-fucking-doo. I was 18 before I saw us win a title. Do you know what I mean? We have no right to win the title. We have no right to win the title. Anybody thinking somebody's just going to rock up and change it, somebody may well do. But it's hard work, it's a real endeavour. You look at the clubs who've won it recently. There was the fluke last year with Leicester, which they fully deserved, because best team in the league wins the league. It's as simple as that. The league never lies. They showed great endeavour. They played a certain way, and it worked for them. But more often than not, it's the big spenders that have won it. Well, we've got the money, so let's go out there, chuck some money about, getting the right players and have a go at it. But it takes endeavour, hard work, and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, definitely takes that. Absolutely, well said. Okay, before we take some listener questions, I'm just going to lob it out there and ask that immortal phrase, any other business. So this is panelists' opportunity just to jump in if there's anything they're really desperately passionate about that they want to talk about or they want to bring up. So I shall just halt there. Anybody got anything they want to bring up or discuss?
Anybody seen The Blacklist recently?
No.
Yes,
that sounds like the sort of show that Danny likes, being the massive racist that he is.
Is that James Spader, isn't it?
That's the only reason I watch it is James Spader.
It's all a bit far-fetched, but I really enjoy it.
I haven't seen anything with him in since Stargate, and that was like 94 or something.
He's bald now. It's very strange.
Yeah, so you used to have lovely flowing locks.
He did.
No comment on such things.
So we're not going to talk about The Blacklist then. Fair enough.
No, we won't talk. I'll tell you what we will do. We'll give our listeners a chance to put some questions in, and John's just volunteered to write those down. Thanks, John.
No, Danny's already got questions.
Is he? Oh, okay. All right. So before we take
Are we
the
doing
questions,
Liverpool predictions?
You shut up. Jesus.
Are you going to host this or what?
Do you want to host? Hey, shall we talk about Liverpool? So you can all have just a little bit of a say on this, and of course a prediction at the end. So, as soon as you got the mouth from the south, John, you can start us.
You want my prediction for the Liverpool game? You're not going to like it.
No, I want it for the fucking Torquay game. Yes, of course. I want the game.
We're
Pirate
away
getting topsy then. I've never seen that
Tell you
before.
what, I mean,
Fucking hell. He's gone all Davis.
I went
Honestly,
full Neuer there.
his highlights lit up there.
See, this is what I have to put up with on that other podcast that shan't be named, because Kris is King Diva, or Queen Diva, I should say, on that. Yeah, I have to
you
put
can
up with all
name
of that.
anything you want.
No, I'm not doing that. That's terrible. Cross-pod promotion. Football hipsters. Anyway, prediction for the Liverpool game. It's at Anfield, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
we'll all have to have a good wash when we get back.
Yeah, I'm sadly predicting a 3-1 to Liverpool.
You miserable.
I think I could be wrong, but I think I'm right in saying that Liverpool have got the best record against the top 6, something like that, or top 5, or whatever you don't include them. If I'm wrong,
against the bottom 6, aren't they?
yeah. If I'm wrong in chat, please feel free to shoot me. And I really fear for poor Nacho up against Sadio Mane, and I'm scared he's going to get no help in the game. So yeah. I just think they play the perfect football for us to foil us, because they press high and win the ball back easy, and we won't be smart and just hit them on the break and just knock a ball over the top like Leicester did.
Aura.
So 3-1. Yeah, Mane.
Fair enough. Okay, so from misery to, well, I'm not sure really. David, what's your thoughts on the game at Anfield?
Oh, well, you know me, I'm never going to go into a game predicting doom and gloom, however likely it looks. So I'll go 2-1 to the Arsenal. First goal scorer will be Coutinho. We're going to come from behind.
That's the way
My
John
favourite
likes to
thing
do
to
it. There you go. Fresh your mind, didn't I?
I thought John might pipe up then.
And from that to a Kit Kat, Jace, what do you think?
Cheeky fucker. 3-1 to the Arsenal. Either Theo Sanchez. Sanchez.
Yeah, lovely. Danny, it doesn't really matter, of course, Danny, because you'll just make it up on the day and claim the points anyway. But for the record,
the only one who does it every single week, and I've only changed it twice, and then I put it in podcast news.
oh shit!
Ladies and
How can you
gentlemen.
do it every week? You're not awake when the game starts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I
Ladies
do it on
and
the podcast every week, you tits.
Can we just point out that Danny is the Juventus of the Arsenal prediction league?
Oh.
Carl Choplin podcasting. Yeah.
You've got to get
Paolo-
Juventus on
Paolo-
the 2000, 2006. Yeah, that's fine.
The Paolo Rossi.
Oh, that's one for the kids. They'll know what that is.
There you go.
Just in case they say he's having to go and Google it, he got banned by the Italian FA for cheating, and they went, "Oh, but you can come back for the World Cup." And then they win the World Cup. Then
He was a great player.
I think it was. Do we get an echo again, Jason, from your dodgy headphones?
Sorry, bro.
Well, I'm going to go 3-2 Liverpool, and Mane, maybe even 4-2 or 5-2. We will shit our bed and collapse. I'm still getting echo from one of you lot. Who is it? Jason. There you go. Whoever it was has just stopped it. So, yeah, just the last 20 games
Busted.
home in the Premier League, Liverpool have lost 1, and that was 3-2 against Swansea. Fuck knows how that happened. They beat Spurs 2-0. They drew 1-1 with Chelsea. Beat Liverpool. Beat Man City 1-0. Who else have they beaten? Drew 0-0 with Man United. 1-1 with Chelsea again. 1-1 with Spurs.
Are you predicting the whole fucking league, or are you just predicting Liverpool?
Beat Man City 3-0. So we're just going to collapse. They will ruin us with pace again. They will attack Monreal down the left-hand side, because he will probably have Iwobi in front of him, who will be there with 2 semaphore flags going, "Go on then, son. On you go. There you go. Good luck, Monreal. Come on, next one. Off you go." Because he is shit at covering his left back. He's his fellow player. So hopefully Wenger will have sense and won't play him, but that isn't going to happen. And they will trounce us. They will destroy us for pace. We will end up probably having to bring Giroud on right at the end, and he'll probably get a couple of goals. But the result will look much better on paper than it did actually watching it.
Oh, happy day.
Let me guess, Chris. 8-0 Arsenal.
No, 4-2 Arsenal.
Oh, fuck off.
Well, I mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Did you really expect anything different from me?
No,
Really?
Conderland, all 6 goals, Chris? Or?
Yeah, both two own goals followed by a salvo of 4 at the other end. No, I think we'll go ahead, and then I think we'll shit the bed, and then I think we'll come back and do it all over again. So, who should I go for? I'll go Alexis. It's a bit obvious, but yeah, I'll go Alexis first scorer. So there you go.
Before we go to questions, bit of a shout out. Tommy Gemmell passed away today. One of the Lisbon Lions.
Good shit.
A former Celtic player. The extraordinary thing about that team, first British team to win the European Cup, they were all born within, I think it was like a 6 or 7 mile radius of Celtic Park. They were all local players. They were all local boys. And I mean, you know, you talk about a time where, you know, there were footballers going abroad. You know, you'd had John Charles at Juventus, you had Dennis Law and Jimmy Greaves at Milan and stuff like that. And, you know, this guy, you know, he from one of the greatest teams ever played the game. Back in the day when Scottish football was actually relevant. You know,
also, didn't he score in the 67 final when they won, and then he also scored in the 1970 final when they lost?
No, they played back-to-back finals, didn't they? They played against Feyenoord the year later, and they
I
lost.
wasn't sure of the years.
No, it was that was 1970.
1970, sorry. I thought it was back-to-back. I
Yeah,
apologise.
I heard it on the radio.
No,
so
no.
I didn't look it up.
68 was Manchester United against Benfica at Wembley.
That's it. But, you know, I think it's, you know, it's a sad day. I mean, he's 73, and it's not old, it's not young. It's sad, isn't it? And I mean, you know, those guys. What an achievement! What an achievement! And yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
I can safely say I am the only one on this podcast who watched that final.
You were the only one on this podcast who was alive.
Yeah, that's true.
It was. But you have to imagine, though, that I was 10. You can't believe how many people watched that on television from the Stadium of Light that night, because European football was still basically in its infancy, and we hadn't had a British team win it. And for Celtic to play Inter Milan, who had already won it, I don't know how many times by then, but they were such red-hot favourites. For Celtic to win it was amazing, and I'll never forget watching that side. Sorry, Rangers supporters.
I mean, to be honest, for me, I remember being a kid watching Forest win back-to-back European Cups, okay? And, you know, people go on about Leicester's title win last season as maybe the greatest thing in sport, in football, in British football history. You know, that Forest side to win the title, then to win back-to-back European Cups. The Leicester thing, as impressive as it is, it doesn't hit you know, what Brian Clough brought to that team. You know, and the Lisbon Lions is a very similar achievement, bearing in mind they're all from 5-6 miles from the ground. It's unbelievable.
You can't include the Leicester one, Jace. They were competing against Spurs, who came third in the 2-horse race.
I love that saying, that phrase.
Excellent.
It was nice to see Leicester decide that they would turn up for a game, wasn't it, on Monday? That wasn't suspicious at all, was it?
Shameful.
Yeah. Agreed.
We got a listener's prediction as well. Cal Arsenal has gone 3-1 Arsenal. Sanchez first scorer, so they've copied Jason. So
Good
we
man.
have one.
Good man.
Because most weeks the listeners don't bother sending me a prediction, so I don't. So I just put them down as 1-1 Giroud.
Needed to have the podcast, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right then, Danny, what have we got in way of mailbag this week?
Okay, we'll start off with Noma. Superb question as always. She says, thoughts on Wenger's 1 year contract extension. In the meantime, sort out a director of football and that side of it, whatever else is needed. Is it possible to get a manager waiting in the wings? Then she's put Allegri, and in brackets, probably wouldn't wait, but one can dream. So, David, what do you reckon? Thoughts on his year's extension?
The answer is probably that if Arsene Wenger is still at the club next year, you won't have a director of football and you won't have a direct rival understudying him. I don't think he's going to put himself in that situation. So, yeah, sorry, that might not be what you wanted to hear. It's what I believe.
Anyone else got any thoughts on that? I know Jason has thoughts on everything, so that's a silly question.
I think Dave's probably right, but there's talk about Dick Law leaving, etc., and I think it is time. Arsene Wenger's not a young man anymore, as Gav pointed out in last week's podcast. That it is time to put people in place ready for any change and to take a bit of the pressure off him. I think it would be the sensible thing to do. And, people say, Wenger's a dictator, this, that, and this. That's a nonsense. If you're in charge of something, you want control, and it's only right and proper. But Ivan Gazidis, as the CEO, needs to be putting people in place ready who can just slip into a role, whether it be the full title or whether it be learning the job. It should be happening.
We just had a little bit of breaking news here, which is of no interest to anybody. Simi Javel, great monologue, by the way. Impassioned apathy. So that means Simi Javel is actually watching us. We should all praise. should all be grateful.
And also,
we do
just to confirm,
we do.
What Jace is saying is he wants Dick out.
Dick out and cock in. Make your mind up, Jace.
There you go. I was waiting for someone to join the dots. Very good.
Shall I move on to the next question, or should? Yeah, I think I will. Right, we go. Our very is two people of a similar mind. Josh has just messaged me his prediction. If anybody is interested, he reckons 2-0 Arsenal. Sanchez, he's deluded as well. Right, Pete Gooner says, should Arsenal be doing more to try and sell tickets for the Bayern game, in brackets cut prices? And Josh adds to that, do you think leaving the leaving of seats empty a selfish move with so many people wanting to get games? Kris first, then John.
I was just going to say I agree with the selfish thing, definitely. I think it's, yes, it's very, very easy to just say, well, I'm just not going to go and take away somebody's opportunity to go.
Someone we know is trying to flog their ticket. Who was it? Someone I follow, which isn't many people. And he said he's got it up for 84 quid on Ticket Exchange, and he doesn't expect to get any feedback for any and be able to sell it.
It is. I mean, it is ridiculous. I suppose from the club's point of view, they have to look at it and say, well, okay, it's a game where we're probably, realistically are out. There isn't a lot riding on it, but it's still a showpiece game. It's still, a very high level opposition that people would pay a lot of money to go and see. I suppose that would be their argument. Maybe they could do something with the kids, maybe to try and get a few of the new generation up to see a game of that size. But then if we get turned over heavily, then maybe that's not a good thing either. So I don't think the club can win on this one. And if we did the unthinkable, can you imagine how stupid it'd look? So from a business standpoint, I don't think you can risk cutting the prices heavily. Maybe a little discount or a little something.
But Kris, sorry, they can't do that. The tickets have been sold already.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
they've been sold already. And if you give one person a discount,
you've got
to give it to the guys who've already bought. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that. I'm sorry. No business in the world can run that way. Can't happen.
No, true. Yeah. What's John's thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think they can discount it. I hope that anyone who's not going, who's got a ticket, has put it up on the Arsenal Ticket Exchange. Not that that's the best system in the world. I've used it a couple of times and it can be a bit of a pain. So hopefully people can go, but I'd expect there'll be loads of empty seats tomorrow that have been sold and no one gets a chance to. So I agree with Josh. If someone has bought their ticket and decided not to go, that is selfish. I hope anyone who's got a ticket and who isn't going has managed to sell it on or use the exchange to give it to someone else.
Well, there you go. Right, this one can be for Jace from Dimitri Sandal. He says, he says to John. Right, I'll save this one for John in a minute. Oh, right, here's a double part from Gooners in the USA, Jace. You're on there next week, aren't you?
Yeah, Monday. I'm having a chat with the boys on Monday. Looking forward to it.
Yes, they're a pair of cheeky. I always forget their names because I don't.
Mike and Andy.
Mike and Andy. Right, Mike sent this in because Andy uses his own one. He says, Ramsey is being called fit for Liverpool. Can we expect to see him for 95 minutes every game until he breaks?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know what he's going to do against Liverpool. I don't think you can play Francis Coquelin against Liverpool simply because of their press. But bringing Ramsey back into it does not seem to be the straight. Putting him back in the fray straight away does not seem to be a sensible move. I have no frigging idea.
Okay, and the second part of his question, I'll give it to David. So Mike says, would Emirates' atmosphere improve if we had 4 stands? Clock End, North Bank, Wenger outstand, and Wenger in stand, which he actually, and they put loud exclamation mark. He discussed that on his podcast this week.
Yeah,
They
were talking about that on this podcast this week. It's quite funny.
Isn't that good that I know that? It actually proves that I do listen. Yeah. So, what's your thoughts, David? Because you're not old enough to have seen us play at the Manor Ground or at the other place. It's only really been the Emirates. And I suppose, yeah, you went to Wembley, did you? Because I did for the Champions League games.
Yeah, and Highbury.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
Highbury. Yeah. Well, obviously it's purely hypothetical. Yes, I think it would, depending on where you position the Wenger in and the Wenger out people, if they're next to each other. Yeah, I think that gets a little bit lively. But you know that when they moved to the Emirates, they made a deliberate choice to break up certain groups of people in order that the atmosphere was amended, shall we say, or dampened down, and that's come back to bite them a little bit, I think. So yeah, it would be a very good idea, but as I say, hypothetical, it's never going to happen.
The only amendment I'd make to that wouldn't have Clock End and North Bank like that, and then the Wenger in and Wenger out there and there like the East and West. You'd have to have the Wenger stand and the Wenger in and the Wenger out stands next to each other, so they're much like looking out of a Torquay hotel window. You can see like herds of wildebeest as the minutes go by. People rush into one end. It would be like, what was that program that Mike Reed used to host? And you go, "Right for it, run around." So you'd have tens of thousands of Arsenal fans going, "Wenger out! Oh, we scored a goal. Wenger in! Oh no, didn't like that substitution. Wenger out!" It'd have to be like that the entire game. Herds of them, thousands of the fucktards who can't make their fucking mind up.
Well, there's the problem. It's not thousands, though, is it?
No.
That's the issue. When you have the protest last year, you get a few hundred people, and they kind of get deflated. So now there's another mob deciding they're going to have a protest. But again, it's going to be probably less well supported than they think it might be at the moment. I wish them luck. As long as it's peaceful and they don't obstruct anybody, crack on.
I'm thinking of asking for next week's podcast, just doing a question. Did you used to go Arsenal regularly and now no longer go? If so, why? And then so next week, people, I'll be asking that question and then reading out some of your replies, because I'm just curious, because there's many different reasons why people stopped going. John from
ask a question of that one then.
Hey? You what, John?
I might ask a question of that one.
Oh, would you? Good. What would it be?
Well, I'll do it next week and you'll find out.
Oh, cheeky. Right. This one for John from Dimitri Sandal. To John, does the news about Allegri falling out with some of the players at Juve have any truth to them? Chances of him leaving? ?
The falling out with players, yeah, that's true. Well, it's not really falling out. He had an argument with Dybala on the side of the pitch, which was seen by the cameras, and he refused to shake his hand, and he's getting frustrated with being substituted off in games, sort of 10 minutes to go, things like that. Most of the time, Allegri does it correctly for tactical reasons. And he's spoken about it and said that's all fine, and he likes that his players have a bit of fight and they don't want to come off the pitch and they want to keep playing. Lichtsteiner did it as well. I don't think Juventus fans were as bothered. The big one was Bonucci. They had a full-blown row on the side of the pitch. Then Bonucci stormed off down into the change rooms and waited for Allegri. Had it out of him again in front of the players. He fined Bonucci. and he didn't select him for the Porto game in the Champions League, so they went to playing a back four without Bonucci in, who's their best defender. He also fined himself because he got caught swearing on the sidelines by the cameras. So the manager fined himself as well. But he has come out and said that the board aren't backing him enough when he's trying to sort of restrain or, tell the players off, essentially. No Juventus manager has lasted more than 3 seasons since Marcello Lippi back in whenever it was.
1886.
Something, whenever it was he was manager. So if you go by the stats, he should be leaving Juventus this summer, but he has got a year left on his contract. Chances of him leaving, I think it's quite possible. The story that he apparently told a friend came out from a paper in his hometown in Florence. So it's a local reporter rather than a big chain, and the big chains picked it up. Whether that's true or not, I've got no idea. He might have told his friend. Whether he said he's going to Arsenal or whether he said Arsenal is a club I would like to go to is a different matter. He has said in the past he wants to manage in the Premier League, but he's not learning English like people think he is. As he said in his press conference, he could barely learn Italian when he was at school, so why would he be learning English?
Okay, right. This is a question for you all to answer, have a little think about, and I'll come back to you later. From Ahmet, favourite goal against Liverpool. He says his would be Perez 03-04 and Van Persie 2011-2012. So I'll come back to you all in a couple of questions so you can answer that. Right, Kris, one from Mark Blondell. He says, are we putting too much blame on Arsene Wenger for what is often individual errors, disregarding whenever tactics have failed completely? In the first half against Bayern, we hung on with moderate success. Chelsea were good until the HB injury. Who's HB?
Hector Bellerin.
Fucking hell, it's terrible, isn't it? Until the Hector Bellerin injury and goal situation and so on. Thoughts, Kris?
I kind of lost part of the question when he went to the Bayern bit. So is he asking?
He said, well, okay, are we putting too much blame on Arsene Wenger for what is often individual errors, disregarding whenever tactics have failed completely?
Yeah, so is it almost like a direct, well, it's always got to be Arsene, it can't just be some of the players not doing their jobs or getting injured?
So.
Yeah, I think he's got a point. I think the problem is that, I mean, I get this on here to a degree, as David said, and if you said, Danny, I'm notoriously always positive because that's how I like to live my life, because I'm not miserable. But yeah, I mean, some people have said to me, you're deluded if you think that the manager hasn't got anything to do with this and all this. And I think if you're a really sensible, measured fan, there are always two sides to every story. And has Arsene Wenger got mistakes in him? Has he got faults? 100%. I think he'd list them for you. But sometimes I think, dare I say, Robbie Savage got something right, but he did when he was talking about the Leicester thing is a very good comparison to use, that sometimes the players have got to take responsibility for the fact that they're not performing at the levels they're asked to perform at. The coaching, of course, has a big say in that. The tactics has a big say in that. But ultimately, as Jace has used this term a number of times, once you cross the white line, it's down to you as an individual to put in a performance. And if Arsene Wenger puts a player out on the pitch who doesn't track back for a goal, then yes, he should be speaking to that player after the game saying, you've cost us here. The trouble is, Arsene's biggest strength is also his greatest weakness. He's fiercely loyal to the players that he brings in, the players he brings through, that they can do a job. And that is probably where he falls down at times. But yes, some of the players get away with murder at times, and it's not just the obvious ones, by the way, because somebody like Alexis gets away with murder because he runs around a lot, whereas other players we've mentioned before tonight, Coquelin, Iwobi, get slated week after week, and even when they have good performances, they're not always highlighted. So, yeah, I think what Mark's put across there is a very good point, and often is a point that's lost on the people that have too strong an agenda one way or the other.
Yes, I'm just reading through people's comments in the box. Okay, yeah, good points there. Oh dear, I've had some fizzy pop. Well, it's fizzy water. Right, next question can be for Jason. Are you ready, Jace?
Yeah.
Good. Right, from Rudy Wilson. Who would you be concerned if a so-called crook, that's allegedly, because he is a notoriously litigious, Usmanov had control of our board and pumped in his money? God, I'd love that. Just playing everyone else at their own fucking game. He'd ruin them. He's a lovely, lovely man as well. That's the official opinion of ABW.
Well, no, but it's this sort of side of things. Okay, you don't amass that sort of size of fortune, especially not in Russia, etc. Without how can we put it? Knowing the dark arts. Then again, yeah. Is Kronk whiter than white? I very much doubt it. I
Not
think
with that fucking moustache. He's not. Never trust a man with a moustache like that,
or a beard like that, never. But you know what I mean. It's a case of, for me, any sporting club has to be self-sufficient anyway. Okay, if he wants to come in and invest some money, great. Okay. But I do like the thing about the Arsenal that we are self-sufficient. We've amassed enough money to be able to compete. I think there's a mixture of, I think Kris is right in the last question where he said, as in, there's a mixture of players not performing once you cross the white line. There's a mixture of the managers made mistakes. But when you come to board level, they've got the fit and proper person's test, which he'll fly by because he's got enough cash to get past it. I don't think it would bother me one way or the other. I just don't. I don't think he. There's a great article by Matthew Said on sort of Abramovich and these guys from where are they from? The guys from Man City. Is it Qatar?
Yeah.
Qatari.
Yeah. Qatar. Okay, so basically, what Matthew Said wrote. Matthew Said writes in the Times, and he's brilliant. The guy, I read his articles. But what he's basically saying is, they come in, they buy a football club, as in the guys have done in PSG, Man City, Chelsea, and they detoxify their brand because, Abramovich, dodgy dealings, Russia, etc. In Qatar, human rights is
all allegedly
not a thing. It's just not a thing, apparently. So you can see with the World Cup how many people are dying and what have you. On the construction, but they come in to detoxify the brand. So when they come in, they act in a proper manner at the club. So I don't think it would be an issue with Usmanov coming onto the board.
Anyone else want to add anything quickly to that? Because it is a very interesting question. Personally, I'd love it. He's got enough money to. He's infinitely richer than some of the others.
But Dan, it doesn't matter how much money he's got. Okay, there are rules on wages. There's rules on this. There's rules on that. We're not going to go back to £10 a ticket. We're not going to go back to £2 a pint. Okay, the world has changed, and Arsenal Football Club has changed with it. Okay, the days of 80s football, the days of 70s football are done. Forget about it.
I didn't say they weren't. What are you on about? I said he'll compete with Chelsea and Man City's money.
But he's not going to do that, is he? He may invest a few quid. He's not.
Hey, he's not going to take it with him, is he? He looks like a fun chap who likes to dig deep. Okay. Anyone else before Jason goes off again?
No, I've nothing more to say after that.
I wouldn't personally entertain him, but I have to be very careful about what I say, because those of us who were blogging at the time that he got his shares were left in no doubt as to what would happen were we to comment too negatively on him. He had a very, very expensive firm of solicitors checking us all over and sending us mails and stuff. So I'll express my opinion no stronger than that.
That's why us at ABW love him and everything he has ever done. That's a fact. Shall I move on?
Quickly.
Yes.
Okay, right. Next question says, "Well, we got you, David. This is from." Oh no, you're not one for hate, are you? I'll give this one to John. From Jose, you said, Mr. Arsenal 93. Which player have you all disliked, if not hated, the most? One English and one any.
Oh, really? I don't think I've ever hated a player.
I have. Oh, do you mean an Arsenal player or in general? Oh, well, maybe not.
Well, it doesn't say Arsenal.
Oh, well, the list is endless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it's not, I assumed he meant Arsenal player.
Oh, no, let's have anyone.
Every Every single one that left Arsenal.
There you go.
I don't hate
the one
them.
I've hated more than any other is Wayne Rooney.
Dennis Wise
And
would be
everything.
my English one.
Who? Dennis Wise.
Dennis Wise would be
He's
my
only
English
little-
one. He's a scumbag. That bloke is an absolute scumbag. I had the great displeasure of meeting him once when a certain family member was playing for a football club that he was associated with. He's a complete and utter arsehole, especially after what he did to that taxi driver as well.
So about some foreign player.
And a foreign player. Oh, God.
I'm going Cristiano Ronaldo. I fucking hate the spotty little prick.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Ronaldo.
You know who I do hate is Lionel Messi,
Who?
because
Saviour!
everyone thinks he's the nice guy with no ego and whatever else. Is he bollocks? That bloke's got as
tax-dodging
just as big an
bastard,
ego as
allegedly.
Ronaldo. Yeah, I don't like
He
him.
plays the nice guy well, though, doesn't he? He's such a fucking cunt, he is.
Yeah, he's a scumbag. But if you want to sign for Arsenal, please come along, Leo. You're fine. You'll be my favourite player ever. I'll turn coat quick enough if they wear an Arsenal shirt.
Cal Arsenal has put Danny Murphy and Chris Sutton. I don't think you can argue much like that. Also, someone's put Rooney is scum. MS Hefik. You lot have a think, and I'll just read out what some of these. Burley speaks the truth, though. Oh Jesus!
Come on!
Whoa.
Henri.
Get out of town, that man. Jesus,
I'm not having that. I'm not having Burley speak the truth. Behave.
man's
no,
utter arsehole.
Noma has put worst pundit, Burley or Savage. Well, as I love Savage, it's got to be Burley. MS Hefik has put Rooney, the player I hate the most. Chris Peris. Oh no, that's just another question. Here we go. Stefan's put my Welsh flatmate is loving Jason. Welsh justice. Fucking hell, those fucks are everywhere. I can't mean that. Those Jason lovers are everywhere.
I'll tell you what, boys. Joey Barton's getting an easy ride, isn't he?
I never minded Joey Barton.
Yeah.
Oh, dear me.
I don't know.
I've never gone around stubbing my cigar out in Junior's eyes.
Yeah, true. No. He's a dickhead. He's a scouser. You know what I mean? Come on.
Well,
knows
there's
he's a
another
Because
reason.
he's a scouser.
yeah, but he knows no better. He's just a prick. Okay? I tell you, I hate Taylor, Birmingham, and who was that cunt from Sunderland?
Oh, Dan
the one who
Smith.
did the army?
And Ryan Shawcross. And Ryan Shawcross. Who did I wish
good
death
shout.
on in the group? Who did I wish death on?
That's
in
a
the
long
group?
fucking list, Jace.
I was going to say that's a long list. That's a long list.
No, I never normally wish death on people.
Oh, good shout for Teddy Sheringham there from down in the group. He's an absolute cockwomble, that bloke, and he's Sheringham. Teddy Sheringham running off. I never forget, I was at the game at Man United, the Arsenal 3-2 game, and he scored those 2 goals. He runs off giving it all that on his fucking badge, a dirty yid scum. Fucking.
Ashley Cole's come up.
No.
See, I don't hate it.
No, see, I do.
Bellend, but
I'm sorry, okay? When you actually print in a book, they only offered me 60 grand a week. I nearly crashed my Bentley.
Oh, Kyle has put Joe, and Mike has put Charlie Adam. Craig Murphy has put Stephen Hunt is a cunt.
Yeah, actually, there's a load I do hate.
Rudy has put Shawcross.
My cousin didn't like this so either.
Our Josh put Drogba. PG Nez has put Patrice Evra.
Whoever's put Verratti in, get in your box. There's nothing wrong with Marco. He was a great player.
Kieran has put Piers Morgan. It's not even a footballer.
I know why PG Nez has put Evra. That's a good shout. Yeah, there's a few. I suppose there is a few. Roy Keane was another notable cockwomble.
But Roy Keane you'd want in your team. You'd want Roy Keane in your team.
Yeah.
If not for
I couldn't stand him.
It's
such a limited footballer who just happened to kick people.
Sorry, I disagree. I disagree. You like Francis Coughlin.
I knew you were going to say that.
At least Roy Keane kicks people.
Oh, Rudy's got
he also ended someone's career intentionally. Dele Alli. I'll tell you what, that's a good shout.
Dele Alli.
That's a good shout. That man, I tell you, has there ever been a more overrated? Fucking that bloke.
Oh, how about this
I'm
face.
restricting judgment on Dele Alli because it's typical. If he was at Arsenal fans would love him.
No,
it's true though.
You know the funny thing though, Dave mentioned Joey Barton. Okay, what a waste of a career. He was such a talent coming through.
Footballer. Yeah.
He could have been an England great. Okay, but he couldn't keep his Scouser ways out of his system and ruined it for himself.
Jace, to be fair, at the moment, if I could be bothered to run, I could be in England great in that team.
When you say could be bothered, do you mean just be able to?
Yeah, that
Which
as
is
well.
pretty but yeah.
Chris, is Schadenfreude your fellow hipster?
No.
He's got a Schadenfreude 99 as a Southampton badge. He's put John O'Shea has always been. That's the kind of word that Ross would use.
Have you not? I was going to say, have you not worked out who that is?
No. Oh, it's James.
No, it's Ross. You donut.
What did I say?
It's Ross. Well,
that's what I meant. Bloody Ross. What did I say?
No, you didn't say anyone. But
You've gone off the rails now. But...
That's what I said. Is your fellow hipster? Well, there you go.
It's all gone wonky. Okay, yes, it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway. Yeah.
I don't know. I might always get this. It's the Josh Ross compendium. Always get that back to front.
Oh, I tell you what I hate as well.
Oh, here we go. The English, the Irish.
Yeah. James McLean. Bang on. James McLean is a detestable little cunt.
He's got a face only a mother could love.
Right, let me get back to the questions. Right.
Sorry.
This is. Remember thinking about your Liverpool.
You mentioned Mourinho, by the way.
Oh, well, I think that doesn't have to be said.
Yeah.
Right, last question, true. North Bank man. Now that we'll be out of the Champions League, who do you guys think will be in it? Will win it? Be in the final? He says Juventus will beat PSG 3-2. So, all right, Chris, as you chirped up, see if you can do this in under an hour. Who's going to be the two finalists?
I think this is PSG's year to win it. I don't think they will. But I think, fuck off, John. What do you know? You like Italian football, for fuck's sake. That being said, I think Juventus.
Feed the league.
Oh, don't start, Davis. No, I think this is Juventus this year. Really, I really do. But, yeah, I do. Barcelona for me are gone. Real Madrid will fail at the next stage, probably to PSG. I think PSG will make the final. I really hope Monaco put Man City out because they should have got a lot more.
We're still in it. We can still just need to do 4-0.
Oh, genuinely?
Danny,
I think we're going to do it.
Say that if I brought that out,
I think you can do it.
You're an idiot.
You know we'll win 3-0, Chase. You know what'll happen. You know that we've seen this.
Actually, no, we'll be winning 4-0, and in the 96th minute, we'll give a penalty.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
no, it depends on the draw, of course. By the way, I should stress that much. But yeah, Juve for me.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. David, do you give a fuck? Because my answer is I won't be watching it, and I don't give a shit.
No, I'm not altogether bothered about it one way or the other. I think Juve is probably a good shout, and they'll probably beat us in the final after we've won 7-3 on Tuesday.
Do you watch any other leagues apart from the Premier League, David?
Yes, he does.
Game started. I used to watch a lot of French years ago.
Yeah.
And the last few months now, I've started following basically whoever's on Saturday and Sunday nights.
I was hoping you were going to say the Maltese League or something really trendy out hipster Chris.
I've taken him under my wing.
It is Spanish, Italian and French mainly. Don't watch any games from Germany, but they tend to play a lot of games the same time as us, don't they?
Spanish, Italian and French. That sounds like a Saturday night for John Welsh, doesn't it?
Talking of the Welsh, who do you think is going to make the final, John? Juve and who? Inter.
Yeah, I wish. I'm not sure Juve will make the final. I did predict them earlier in the season, but I think they're going to slip up. I think Bayern will probably win it. I think they've been awful all season in the Bundesliga, despite being top. When I say awful, I mean awful for Bayern Munich. But yeah, I think they'll end up. I don't know what it was. They just needed to beat someone really easy, and it just turned their season around. They start playing football again properly. So we come along and get spanked, and yeah, everything's looking rosy for them. So I think another Champions League for Carlo.
I don't want to alarm anyone, by the way, but they warmed up quite nicely for Arsenal with an 8-0 victory over Hamburg last weekend.
And
so
who was playing centre back for Hamburg? Johan Joru.
A fucking blind school, I think.
Still captain.
Did you see Tayo Papula's tweet about that last night?
No,
he said he was watching them stutter to an 8-0 win at the weekend, and notice there's some weaknesses. We've got this, lads.
Quality, like that.
I tell you what else I hate. I hate Shane Long.
He still hates me. He's still at it.
Oh.
He's still at it.
I've just seen. Well, not only have we got to predict Liverpool, we've got to predict Man United, Bayern Munich as well. That's Tuesday before the pod.
Oh,
Must
Christ.
Right, scroll down. Here we go again. Right, Jace, would you like to give who you think is going to be in the Champions League final? And we're not talking egg chasing before you start to get all giddy.
We're going to play Juventus in the final and we're going to spank them 5-0.
There you go. He's been on the fermented leaks again.
I've got to turn my hatred into positivity.
Oh, home leg against Bayern Munich, Chase. What do you reckon?
We're going to win 4-0 and knock the fuckers out.
And first goal scorer?
Theo Walcott.
No, you're fucking making it out.
He's gone rogue.
Kris, as you spoke next.
He's gone full carpenter. I think we'll draw two each at home. I think Lewandowski will put him in front.
So who's scorer?
Lewandowski, I think I'll put him in front.
I'm going 4-1 to them, and I'm also going Lewandowski. David?
3-1 to Arsenal. Glorious failure yet again. And first goal scorer, Danny Welbeck.
You know, with that voice of yours, David, you could probably tell me, Danny, there's a nuclear missile heading this way. We're all going to be dead in under a minute. You know what? I wouldn't panic. You just have a way with words.
I'm sure I'm not alone in saying I want to hear that. Can we get that?
John?
Briefly on that, I should get David to do Desert Island Discs. He's got a great voice.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And if you follow him on
and a
Twitter,
very
you
good
see
choice of music as well.
that he does have a wide variety of musical tastes.
Bayern.
Oh.
I think it will be 3-2 to Bayern, and Kingsley Coman first goal.
Oh, he scored a couple at the weekend. And what I'm going to do, listeners, the first one that I see, unless they've started doing it already, we'll pick. Oh, here we go.
8-0 Spina.
Can't have you again. Actually, Rudy was the first one there. 2-0 to Bayern. And who's the first goal scorer, Rudy? Just make sure that no one predicted before him. No, Rudy's got the prediction for this one. So, Rudy, let us know. Noma's gone 2-0 Arsenal. I just found out where Noma lives, and I've asked her if she'd like to come on when a radio show, and she said yes. So, hosting might.
Oh, look, yeah. I fucking did John Terry as well.
It had to be fair, didn't it?
How can we miss John Terry? How can we miss?
Have you seen that show on ITV with John Terry and Frank Lampard? Fuck.
Oh, and I tell you what I hated.
What?
I hated Kerry Dixon. Fucking hated Kerry Dixon. And Gary Marbett. Fucking hated Gary Marbett.
Now Rudy's gone. Take that back. It will be 4. Giroud's going to score 4. Rudy, what are you going? Are you going 4-0 Giroud score all 4, or are you going to go 2-0 Austin? Make your mind up. Right, gentlemen, we have the final question, which was your favourite goal. I'll go first. It was 20th of April 1992. People go on your YouTubes and give this a wiggle. Anders Limpar scores from just in front. Jason's done. Just in front
against them in the green kit. Yeah.
Again, he was just near the dugout, almost in the halfway line. It was almost a replica of Beckham's goal against Wimbledon, but he was a little bit closer to the goal. But there again, in the lineup for Liverpool that day, you had Liverpool legends like Mike Cooper, Nicky Tanner, Mike Marsh, Barry Venison, but they had the 2 Welsh legends up front, Ian Rush and Dean Saunders. And actually, in that lineup for Arsenal that day, there was 2 ABWers. David Hillier scored the first goal, and Anders Limpar scored. Both of whom have been on this podcast. But they never thought back then their careers had reached the highlight of being on with us.
I'm sure you're not a man who likes Bon Jovi, Danny, but it scans beautifully.
What?
Barry Venison.
I like heavy metal, but
that's
Bon Jovi a little bit too heavy for me.
Bon Jovi's, Your Love is like Barry Venison. It's brilliant. it just works so well. So there you go. We need to sign a player with that sort of name to just.
While you've piped up, Kris, what's your favourite Liverpool goal?
Freddie at Anfield. I was behind the goal back in the day with the gold kit. I think it was 2004, was it? 5? We had 10 men. Gio Van Bronckhorst was sent off. We were up against it. I seem to remember the cross came in from the left-hand side. Freddie got across his man near post, popped it in the near post, ran behind the goal, canted off all the Liverpool fans. I fucking love that man. Honestly,
We have noticed.
I crawl over broken glass to sniff his farts, as Don would say. I love that man, and just the outpouring of emotion when that goal went in, because I think Gooners behind that goal, we knew we'd done them, and they were full of it that they'd smash us that day. So it was a real backs to the wall performance and a lovely goal. So that's the one that stands out to me.
We got a few great ones, haven't we?
Edu's as well. Is it Edu's? No, Pires is, sorry. Edu scored the same game. Pires is that curler.
3 minutes before David needs to leave. David, what's your favourite goal?
Oh, God, there's so many. Charlie George in the cup final. Rocky got an absolute cracker up there. Paul Merson, I remember, scoring an absolute peach. But no, you just got to say it's Mickey Thomas, 89.
Of course, yeah.
We wanted to let you have the honour of that one.
I was there. We all
Thank you.
there.
It's an open goal.
I was there twice.
My sperm was there. Oh, yeah? Running joke.
I was there.
We're all there. I'm trying to think of more goals now.
I tell you what, okay, right? I'll tell you I fucking hate as well, okay?
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, here we go.
Glenn Hoddle. I fucking hate Glenn Hoddle. I fucking hate Glenn Hoddle.
His wandering hands.
Yeah.
Rudy, who can't make his mind up, has said the Arshavin's 4. What a game.
Oh.
John.
I've got my ticket on my forehead. My favourite goal, it's got to be Ray Parlour. It's only Ray Parlour, FA Cup final.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Favourite player ever. I love Ray because we've had all these wonderful, skillful players, but Ray Parlour was all effort and had a bit of flair. Occasionally it worked out. Most of the time he looked like a donkey, but just always ran and absolutely love him. So, yeah, that goal in the final against Chelsea.
I'm fed up of asking Rudy. I'm going 4-0 Giroud to score.
Okay, hold up, yeah. I'm going to give you one now, okay, boys? Yeah, and it's not my favourite goal against Liverpool, but it's one I really admired. Santi Cazorla. He hits the crossbar. He hits the crossbar, comes back off. Yeah, and the header was superb.
Yeah, and the long distance one he got against Liverpool at Emirates as well.
Oh, but I just thought the sharpness of the way he reacted, bearing in mind he hasn't hit a cow's arse of the banjo since, okay? Right, huh? Yeah. But it was such a great finish from him. It hit the crossbar, beaten the keeper twice, and superb.
How about the favourite against Liverpool? Is any of the ones that West Ham scored the day that Gerrard fell over?
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
No, it wasn't. They were 2-0 up against West Ham, weren't they? And
I tell you, we haven't mentioned, but Arshavin's 4 goals.
I just said someone in the chat has mentioned that.
Did we mention that? Oh, apologies. Sorry.
I didn't realise we were supposed to pick a goal against Liverpool. See, I was paying attention.
I'll tell you what. My favourite goal is still Aaron Ramsey, Galatasaray.
Oh, do you remember? Do you remember
the Beast get 4 as well?
Yeah,
Julio Baptista.
Oh, Ali Adier. Ali Adier, they had a game.
The Cockney Frenchman, Jeremy Aliadier. Oh. Do you remember the Vieira passing goal when we had the blue kit? Do you remember that one, David? Remember this one? Do you remember that? The intricacy, the passing, they passed literally through Liverpool's defence, and Vieira tucked it away. That's one to look up. I think that was, when was that? 2000 and it was when Neil Mellor got that one fucking fluky goal of his whole career late on. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. To get Thierry Henry in the one that we came from behind at Easter in 2004.
This should go on for hours, couldn't it? Right, we've reached the witching hour. Oh, here we go.
Aaron Ramsey, outside of the box.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That season. Oh, I tell you what, I hate the Scousers. I fucking hate the Scousers.
Right, listen, gentlemen. David's got to go. You can hear
Love you, Dave.
10 o'clock. Chris has got to go. Have you got to go, Chris?
Yeah, pretty much. Near enough,
and so, Jason, John, do we stay on for a little bit, or do we say goodnight to everybody?
Up to you, boys.
I don't mind, mate. It's up to you.
Say goodnight, because people moan about long podcasts, and Raj has got food to eat.
We made Raj a mod in the group tonight, in the chat group. So I'm surprised everybody hasn't been banned.
Has he banned anybody?
everyone.
Keep riding around on a Vespa as we speak.
No, but he's made everybody in the group. He said, "I want everybody to send me your entire weight in profiteroles and Ferrero Rocher, otherwise you're banned." So yeah, he's running his own dictatorship. Right, Kris, wrap it all up.
Yes, I will wrap it all up. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland, unplanned, unsynced, unpredictable, unethical at times. Keep it Arsenal, and we'll be back after Liverpool with a radio show. Who's on? I don't know. We'll speak to you very soon. Good night.
Good night, cheeky monkeys.
Hello to Jason Isaac.
Fuck.